The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1501. The Pirate King escapes. Master, please stop talking. Xia Xingchen opened his arms and hugged his master Roger's thin and dry body tightly. Roger told him the truth, and Xia Xingchen was moved. This means that Roger completely agrees with him. This is also what Xia Xingchen desires most. Xia Xingchen ventured into the starry sea alone, carrying too much and too heavy, and he often felt lonely. With Roger, Xia Xingchen found the feeling of home. Roger is like Xia Xingchen's father. Once a teacher, always a father. It is true that Roger had evil intentions. However, Roger only thought about it in his heart and did not really take action. Let me ask, who can be without a little selfishness? What's more, at the last moment, Roger overcame the evil thoughts in his heart, was willing to give up the opportunity to gain freedom, and faced his mistakes calmly. This is the broad mind of the Star Pirate King. Master, I won't take it personally. I believe my fellow apprentices will not take it personally like me. You will always be our master. Even if you are wrong, you are still our master. Xia Xingchen's cheeks were covered with crystal tears, and she whispered, Xingchen, thank you so much. I am sure again that I did not make a mistake. Your mind is much greater than mine. Roger was also very moved. The Star Pirate King, who once hesitated in the Star Sea and was feared by everyone, was crying like a child. These were tears of joy. Although Roger knew that he would never be able to leave the dimensional cube in this life and would be trapped on the treasure island forever, he was so happy to have a disciple like Xia Xingchen. Master, we forgive you. No, we are not qualified to forgive the master. We are not strong enough and cannot reach the 36th floor. Only Xia Xingchen. But this means that the master will never be free. The master is so pitiful. The person who yearns for freedom the most is trapped in the same place forever by himself. Tears flowed down the faces of the fellow apprentices. Xingchen, let's go. Leave the dimensional cube. I'm satisfied. Roger urged in a low voice. Master, is there really no other way? Xia Xingchen did not give up, looking at Roger. No other way. The dimensional cube hides secrets, and I just realized some of them. In short, someone must stay on the 36th floor to replace me. Roger sighed. There is no one left. Can a worm do? Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up. Bug? Roger was stunned and looked in the direction of Xia Xingchen's gaze, and then he suddenly realized that Xia Xingchen was talking about one Xia Xingchen who was parasitized by the thousand brain worm. He's not dead. Roger was surprised. The thousand brain worm has a very strong vitality, and it is difficult to die completely. It is still alive. Xia Xingchen flew over in the mecha, and with a volley of his hand, Wang Qianxing's body turned into carbon powder, revealing an octopus-like, weird creature with many brains inside. This is the thousand brain worm. This thousand brain worm was not hatched for a long time, and its strength is equivalent to that of the clone of Kaldori, and its strength barely reaches the peak of the star. It was precisely because of this that Xia Xingchen could defeat it easily. I'm not sure. Roger shook his head, but there was a spark of hope in his eyes. Let's give it a try. We'll give it a try. Xia Xingchen smiled, flew to the black dimensional door, and threw the thousand brain worm into the dimensional door. Bang! The dimensional door exploded, and the 36 layers of the golden silver star space shattered. Roger's body became crystal clear, emitting golden light, and he shouted in surprise, success. Really successful? I feel that the restraints have been untied. I'm free. Bang. The 36 layers of dimensional space shattered. Xia Xingchen was teleported to the palace of the golden silver star. In the underground secret room, Roger suddenly sat up from the sarcophagus, panting violently. He looked at his hands full of needles in disbelief and laughed. I'm back. I, the Star Pirate King Roger, finally got out of trouble. 10 days later, the king's spaceship. In the center of a cabin was a huge cylindrical nutrient chamber, and Roger's tall body floated in the green nutrient solution. Swish. Roger suddenly opened his eyes, radiant with light. He punched, and the nutrient chamber burst, spilling the nutrient solution all over the floor. Congratulations, Master. The three servants, Evil Dragon, Phoenix, and Mad God, had recovered from their injuries and knelt in front of Roger, their faces full of unspeakable joy. Phoenix stepped forward and draped the golden bathrobe in her hand over Roger's broad shoulders. Roger's body had recovered and was no longer atrophied and frail, but had developed muscles, delicate skin, and was full of healthy beauty. Congratulations, Master, your body has also recovered its former strength. Xia Xingchen led his fellow apprentices into the cabin, and everyone congratulated Roger with joy on their faces. Roger sat on a huge chair, looked at Xia Xingchen, and said with a smile, "Xingchen, your teacher wants to thank you again. You helped me prepare this nutrient solution. It is so effective. In such a short time, it can stimulate cell activity and let the cells absorb enough energy again, comparable to the legendary elixir. You must have spent a lot of money. For the sake of my health, this little money is nothing," Xia Xingchen said lightly. Roger was not wrong. The full name of this nutrient solution is called Water of Life, which is the formula obtained by the Life Science Research Institute of Lingju Star from the Shinran spacecraft on Lingju Star. It is still in the laboratory stage and has not been officially announced to the public. The formula of the Water of Life is already a priceless treasure, and the materials needed for preparation are all secret treasures of the starry sky, priceless. Xia Xingchen used the relationship of the Star Alliance, entrusted Edward Star Pirates in the Chaos Starfield, and the Intelligence Department of the Galaxy Freedom Army, and spent countless star crystals to gather them in a short time, and handed them to Jia of the Starfield Arc, asking him to help with the allocation, and then ordered Miyamoto Kenichi and Kila to drive a small space shuttle, and transport them through the wormhole. Master, the Water of Life has restored your body to health. But in fact your internal organs are still weak. You have been sleeping for too long, and your internal organs are too weak to be replenished. If you want to recover to your full state, you still need a long time of recuperation, Xia Xingchen reminded. Yeah. Roger nodded. Xingchen, I was just about to tell you about my next plan. I'm going to leave the Gold and Silver Star and lead the King Star Pirates and your fellow apprentices to a distant starfield to relax and recover my body. I have been holding it back for so long. Master, you really can't stay idle. Xia Xingchen smiled. Roger advocates freedom, and the first thing he did to get out of trouble was to sail away immediately. Master, I have something very important to do, so I can't accompany you. Xia Xingchen whispered. I know. Roger laughed, walked forward, and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. The situation in the Empire is very serious. I know nothing about politics and leading troops to fight. I'm just a star pirate. But I can see that you will face a big war in the near future. At that time, I will definitely rush back. I must hurry up and recover. I don't want to embarrass my apprentice in front of so many people. Chapter 1502, Reigniting the War. Thank you, Master. Xia Xingchen felt warm in her heart and knelt down in front of Roger to thank him. Roger's words meant that he would join Xia Xingchen in the war with the Empire. Roger was free and easy by nature and had not cared about worldly affairs for a long time. He was already a detached person. He was willing to get involved in this muddy water, all for Xia Xingchen's sake. Xingchen, remember, be careful in everything. Roger looked concerned. Try to take time to meditate, and strong strength is the hard truth. Master, I understand. Xia Xingchen smiled and nodded. Okay, we, the master and the apprentice, will part ways here. The next time we meet, I will definitely let you see the peak state of my master. Roger was a straightforward person, and he would not drag his feet when parting, and said with a big laugh. By the way, master, if you have time, you must go to Wanshi Star. Her Majesty the Queen is still waiting for you. Xia Xingchen suddenly thought of the lonely look of the Queen, and said to Roger, Queen. Roger was silent for a moment, his eyes flickered, and his face was a little tangled. Master, no matter what happened between you and the Queen, no matter what grudges you have, it's been so long, what else can't you let go of? Xia Xingchen whispered. Yes, I've died once, so what can't I let go of? Xingchen, I will definitely go to Wanshi Star. Roger was stunned for a moment, then laughed, with a carefree and open-minded look on his face. Xia Xingchen said goodbye to his fellow apprentices one by one and flew alone in the mecha, heading deep into the dark starry sky. Xia Xingchen's next stop is the Beast Star. Roger has been trapped for half a century and his state of mind has changed a lot. He used to be the Star Pirate King who dominated the world, and his behavior was arrogant and unruly, but now he has become low-key and likes quietness. Under Roger's deliberate concealment, the news of his escape was not widely circulated. However, the big families and organizations in the starry sky still inferred the news of Roger's escape from some clues. Logically speaking, the news that the strongest man in the world has escaped will set off a huge wave in the starry sky. However, another more shocking news came, and the news that the Star Pirate King escaped was covered up. The new Emperor of the Northern Empire, Andrei, unilaterally tore up the Armistice Agreement, personally led the army of starships to fight the Galactic Empire. Siberia. Andrei wore a luxurious imperial robe and a golden cloak. His eyes were full of murderous intent, looking at the starships and countless mechas that covered the sky. Andrei had just reviewed the troops and gave a speech in person to boost the morale of the northern soldiers. Being praised by the Emperor himself, the morale of the soldiers was high, and their eyes were burning with raging flames of war. They wanted to attack the Galactic Empire immediately and regain the lost territory. Your Majesty, our army is strong, and you will be victorious if you lead the army in person. A general kneeled beside Andrei and said in a deep voice, General Zhukov, with these troops, can we win? Andrei asked. Of course. General Zhukov said quickly. Bullshit. Andrei suddenly yelled, if we can win with these troops, my father would have won long ago. The gap between our military strength and that of the Galactic Empire is more than 10 times. With these troops, it is very difficult to defend, not to mention attacking. It is simply a matter of hitting a rock with an egg. Your Majesty, since you know, why are you rushing to start a war? General Zhukov trembled. He had been a soldier all his life, so he naturally knew the gap between the North and the Galactic Empire. Just now, he was just flattering Andrei under his tyranny. I naturally have my own plans. You go down. Andrei smiled coldly, but he looked confident. After the military parade, Andrei entered the towering Shinran church in front of the palace alone, and knelt down in front of the light ball deep in the church. The reason why Andrei was fearless was because he had a Shinran as his backer. Andrei was different from Nicholas. Nicholas was a human, and the elder Shinran wanted to marginalize him and use him as a puppet, and they also had to be wary of his disloyalty. Andrei came back to life with a celestial seed planted in his body. He was a perfect puppet created by the Celestial of the Elder. Honorable Celestial, I need help. I need real super technology. Powerful weapons that can turn the tide of the war. Please give me more powerful power. Andrei knelt in front of the light ball with a pious face and prayed in a low voice. Buzz buzz buzz. The light ball flickered and immediately responded. A vast and majestic voice came. Andrei, do you think technology can turn the tide of the war? Can't it? Andrei was surprised. Technology is omnipotent. However, the Milky Way is suppressed by rules. Technology that exceeds the rules cannot be used within the Milky Way. We just got a message that the army of the mechanical race encountered an ambush by the human mecha division when attacking the Milky Way. They suffered a tragic defeat and suffered heavy losses. Even a celestial of the mechanical race fell. The celestial said. What? Andrei was shocked. He knew something about the celestial realm. The celestial of the elder race is better at mental power and not good at technology. The level of technology of the mechanical race is much higher than that of the spirit race. Even the army of the mechanical race failed. Even some spirits fell. How is this possible? What should we do? Has the Empire developed more powerful technology? Andrei panicked. We have just realized that in the battle within the galaxy, technology alone cannot determine the outcome of the battle. We can give you more powerful mechas. But how many soldiers do you have who can drive super mechas? The spirit reminded. Indeed. The higher the technology, the more advanced the mechas, the higher the mental power level required of the mecha masters. There are as many D-level and C-level cannon fodder mecha masters as you want. However, there are too few high-level mecha masters. As for the legends, the legendary mecha masters I can recruit to serve me are even fewer, less than 100. What really determines the outcome of the battle is not cannon fodder, but the high-level combat power above the legend. Andre frowned. The Northern Empire was originally vast and sparsely populated. He was not in the right position, and many legendary mecha masters were unwilling to serve him. In contrast, the Galactic Empire has a vast territory, a large population, and the Qin royal family has a deep foundation, with countless hidden legendary masters. Qin Yun led the Starship Army to attack the Northern Empire. These legendary mecha divisions, proud of their status, will not participate in the civil war. However, if Andre attacks the Galactic Empire in turn, these hidden legendary mecha divisions are likely to join the war. The chances of victory in the north were not great to begin with, and now it seems that the chances of winning are even smaller. Andre even regretted in his heart that he was too reckless to go to war with the Empire. Chapter 1503 Soul Resonance. Andre, you are our carefully cultivated one, and we have helped you to ascend the throne with great difficulty. You will become the Emperor of the Empire in the future. We will naturally pave the way for you. However, giving you only technology is not enough to achieve victory. The most important thing is the Mecha Master. You need many powerful Mecha Masters to fight for you. Xia said. Ascension Potion? Andre frowned. This potion has serious side effects, and has been listed as a banned drug. It's not a potion. We give you a soul secret technique. It is a rare secret technique that only the celestial beings of our elder race know. It is called soul resonance. The light bulb flickered, and a meditation secret technique appeared in Andre's mind. After checking the secret technique, Andre's face suddenly changed, surprised and happy. Soul resonance can actually make human spirits communicate. It's almost like a spiritual fusion. A super mecha that a mecha master can't drive. 2 people drive it. If 2 people can't drive it, 3 people drive it. It's too powerful, Andre exclaimed, and a crazy plan emerged in his mind. Andre, soul resonance is powerful, but it also has risks. Not everyone's mind can think through. It's best to have twins, or father and son, or husband and wife. At the very least, it should be mecha masters of similar age and suitable personalities. If mecha masters with different mental bands practice soul resonance together, they are likely to have schizophrenia and become crazy. Xia reminded. It doesn't matter. I control the entire north, and I have a lot of people under my command. Even if 1 out of 10 succeeds, I can build a super mecha army comparable to the legendary level in a short time. Andre was full of confidence. I wish you success. I hope you will bring good news when you contact us next time. After the light bulb flashed a few times, the light slowly disappeared, and Xianren's consciousness had already left. Soul resonance. Andre rubbed his hands excitedly, walked out of the church, and ordered the guards around him. Call General Zhukov over. Andre ordered General Zhukov to immediately select a mecha master who met the conditions in the Northern Army. Brothers, fathers, and sons, husbands and wives, uncles and nephews, and qualified mecha masters were forced to be sent to secret training bases to practice the secret art of soul resonance. In addition, Andre ordered the major colleges and universities in the north to hold group competitions. Select young people who cooperate well, send them to the institute, test their mental bands, and find out the candidates who are suitable for practicing soul resonance. At the same time, Andre handed over the giant Devil King mecha he had snatched from the Lingju Star to the Institute for Technical Analysis, and manufactured a large number of imitations in a short period of time. A secret mecha corps named Ace was quickly formed under the auspices of Andre. The secret art of soul resonance is a secret art unique to the Elder. It is extremely difficult to practice. Only mecha masters with matching mental bands can succeed in practicing. But Andre did not expect that the probability of successfully practicing this secret art would be so low that it would be outrageous. Even for biological brothers and fathers and sons, the success rate is only 1 in 1,000. And most of the mecha masters who failed in practice were schizophrenic and became crazy. Not to mention the young people who were selected through the competition, whose chances of success are even smaller. The base of the Ace secret mecha core was filled with heart-wrenching and crazy screams all the time. But Andre didn't care at all. He just wanted to win now. The Siberian Starfield, an inconspicuous little planet. It is frozen for thousands of miles. snow covered all year round, and the temperature is -50 degrees Celsius. It is a forbidden area for humans. Under the ice layer of the planet, there is a large military base. This is the base of the Ace secret mecha core, Ace Star. Andre, wearing a thick bear fur coat, stood behind a one-way glass wall, staring at the front. Behind the glass wall, there is a huge space surrounded by thick steel walls. There are dozens of mechas inside, besieging a giant mecha that is 100 meters tall. These dozens of mechas all have the emblem of the Northern royal family. They are Andre's guards. The giant mechas besieged by the guards are driven by two teenagers under the age of 20. The two boys looked very similar, with red hair, delicate faces, and freckles on their cheeks. Not only did they look the same, but their expressions were also exactly the same. Facing the attack of the royal guards, both of them showed panic on their faces. Driver Inc. These two little kids are the trump cards you mentioned? You spent so much research funds. You don't want to fool me like this, do you? Andre looked coldly at an old man wearing a white robe and full of silver hair beside him. Your Majesty, the strongest group in the Grant Brothers trump card army. They are identical twins, born with telepathy, and have practiced the soul resonance secret technique you gave them. The mental power of the two has advanced by leaps and bounds, not simply adding, but multiplying. From the fact that they can drive the Mecha Demon King K, it can be seen that their mental power is comparable to the legendary level. No, it is stronger than the legendary Mecha Master. Dr. Isenk explained confidently. Okay, if they can defeat my guards, Dr. Isenk, the position of Chief Scientist of the Royal Science Society will be yours. If they lose, before you commit suicide, get rid of the garbage you cultivated. Andre said coldly. Riseng shuddered and gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, although the Grant brothers are young and lack practical experience, but I have confidence in them. I will never lose. I hope so. Andre said lightly. Behind the glass wall, the guards are besieging the giant mechas of the Grant brothers. Andre's guards are the strong ones carefully selected from the major fleets, and they are much stronger than the Snow Demon Knights he used to control. The members of the Snow Demon Knights are all children of nobles, and it is inevitable that they are good and bad. However, the guards do not ask about their backgrounds. As long as they are strong, they can join. Among the guards, the weakest is the A-level Mecha division, and there are also many S-level Mecha divisions. To be honest, Andre is not optimistic about the Grant brothers. The Royal Guards mechas formed a battle formation, like a giant net, covering the giant mechas. The opponents were two teenagers with no actual combat experience. Every Royal Guards Mecha Master had a look of contempt on his face. In the giant mechas, the Grant brothers were very panicked, but they did not communicate with words, but just looked at each other. They were connected in spirit, and the information contained in a glance far exceeded a long paragraph of language. Boom. The Demon King's giant mecha let out a low roar, suddenly attacked, and waved his big hand, like hitting a mosquito, slapping a Royal Guards mecha against the wall. Chapter 1504, Indestructible Line of Defense. Bang. The 100-meter tall Demon King modified mech attacked and knocked a guard's mech onto the wall. The guards driving this mech was an A-class mech master, not a weakling, but under the attack of the Grant brothers, he had no power to fight back. The mech was deeply embedded in the wall, and the man was seriously injured, and fell into a coma. What a cruel two guys. It was just a test, but they were so vicious and hurt our brothers. Let's teach them a lesson. The guards mech master's eyes suddenly turned red, and they were all angry and shouted loudly. Boom. The guards mech group immediately launched an offensive. They were all elite soldiers, and they were strictly trained on weekdays. Some mechas held laser cannons for long-range attacks, some mechas held shields for protection, and some fast mechas held laser swords and laser battle axes for close-range attacks. They cooperated perfectly, and there was a methodical attack and defense. Brother. The Grant brothers looked almost exactly the same, and one of them was more panicked. He was the younger brother of the brothers, and he shouted in a low voice. Brother, you focus on defense, and I will take care of the attack. We have the Snow Mountain. It will help us win. The elder brother was much calmer, with a composed look on his face. Snow Mountain is the name of this Demon King modified. As its mecha masters, the Grant brothers have the right to rename it. The two brothers were born on a remote and extremely cold planet. The people on this planet have a special belief, worshipping the snow mountain. Therefore, they named this mecha after the snow mountain. In their opinion, this huge demon king modified mecha is as tall, majestic, and powerful as the towering snow mountain. Yes. The younger brother nodded and poured his mental power into the mental power sensing device. A layer of transparent protective cover appeared on the armor surface of the snow mountain mecha. Boom boom boom. Countless red laser beams fell like a rainstorm, bombarding the protective cover. Circles of halos appeared at the intersection, spreading like ripples. Brother, I succeeded. The younger brother was sweating profusely and shouted in surprise. Good. The elder brother roared, and the snow mountain mech swung its fists and landed a heavy punch, defeating the guard's mech in a blink of an eye. In the end, the snow mountain mech won. The hatch of the laboratory opened, and many bodies of the guard's mech divisions were carried out. Many others were seriously injured and sent to the emergency center for rescue. Waste. Andre, wearing a bearskin coat, swept his eyes over these bodies with contempt. The guards were Andre's personal guards, responsible for Andre's personal safety. Andre's position was not legitimate, and the political situation in the north was unstable. He had to face assassinations every day. These guards' mech divisions had saved Andre more than once. Because of a small test, the guards suffered heavy casualties, but Andre was cold and ruthless. Not only did he not appease them, he showed contempt and even scolded them. The surviving guards' mech divisions were all chilled, but they did not dare to show it, because of Andre's tyranny. At this time, the Grant brothers supported each other, and walked out of the laboratory. The brothers' faces were pale and their mecha combat suits were stained with blood. Andre strode forward, changed his face, and put on a kind smile, and said with concern, Grant brothers, your battle was wonderful. How are you? I will arrange for the royal doctor to check your health. Ah. Your Majesty. The Grant brothers found that the person who greeted them was the Emperor himself. They were flattered and knelt down quickly. Haha, get up. You are very good. Andre helped them up with his own hands and kept praising them. The Grant brothers were less than 20 years old. They never thought that they would be praised by the Emperor in person. Their brains were blank and they were a little flattered. Driver Senk, you did a good job. I like these two children very much. I hope you can discover more and more talents. I will notify the Ministry of Internal Affairs that the position of Chief Scientist is yours. Andre turned to Dr. Isenk and said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Dr. Isenk knelt down with surprise on his face and thanked not only the Grant brothers and Dr. Isenk, but everyone in the A-star military base received Andre's rewards. Your Majesty is too generous. He actually gave us so much. The late Emperor Nicholas was much more stingy. Yes, Nicholas was too stingy. His Majesty Andre is very generous. The rumors are indeed false. The Galactic Empire fears Your Majesty's talent and personality, and deliberately releases news to discredit Your Majesty. Seeing is believing. Everyone in the military base was talking about it, thinking that Andre was a good person. Many people vowed to die for Andre and repay his kindness. Among them were the young Grant brothers. Andre's spaceship left the Ace Star. He stood in front of the porthole, holding the report just submitted by the intelligence department in his hand, which showed that the loyalty of the Ace Star had increased by nearly 20 percentage points. Oh, humans are really a stupid race. Andre smiled coldly and threw the report into the trash can beside him. With these mecha divisions with soul resonance ability, in the future war, the winner must be me. Andre looked up at the vast and endless starry sky outside the porthole, raised his right hand slightly, and grasped all the starry sky in his hand. A month later, Andre personally led the Northern Starship Army, under the banner of recovering the homeland, officially tore up the Armistice Agreement, and raided the front line of the Sakhalin Starfield. The commander of the Galactic Empire Army in the Sakhalin Starfield was none other than the famous Empire Marshal von Bismarck. Marshal von Bismarck built military fortresses on more than a dozen planets on the front line, and even transferred 2 war fortresses from the 2 Grand Dukes of the Antarctic Starfield and the Penglay Starfield, to defend the gap between the planets. The soldiers of the Imperial Army joked that what Marshal von Bismarck built was the indestructible Maginot Line. Of course, the Marshal himself did not like this name. because in the military history of the Earth, the Maginot Line is synonymous with self-destruction. No matter what, even the Marshal himself did not think that the defense line he arranged would be breached from the front. Therefore, when the Northern Army deployed its battle formation, clearly intending to storm this defense line, the old Marshal, in addition to being shocked, could not help but ridicule Andre as a reckless man with courage but no strategy. The old Marshal and Qin Yan had the same opinion for the first time, believing that Andre could not hold the position of the Emperor of the North, and that this was a great opportunity to launch a major counterattack, recapture the North in one fell swoop, and end the Civil War. Of course, Marshal von Bismarck had spent his entire life in the military, and he would not despise Andre for this reason. His battle plan was not radical. He was prepared to rely on the defense line to hold on and eliminate the living forces of the Northern Army as much as possible. When Andre's spirit was worn out and he had the intention to retreat, he would take advantage of the situation to attack, completely crush the Northern Fleet, destroy the Siberian Star with overwhelming force, and unify the North. Chapter 1505, Marshal's Martyrdom. However, no one expected that the army led by Andre actually had a secret weapon hidden in it, which was 100 giant mechas as big as mountains. The performance of these 100 giant mechas far exceeded the cognition of Marshal von Bismarck and the Imperial soldiers. They have heavy armor, powerful strength, and large caliber energy weapons comparable to shipborne light cannons. Each of them is as powerful as a legend, or even surpasses a legend. These giant mechas rushed across the starry battlefield, invincible, and tore the Imperial Army's front line into pieces. Marshal von Bismarck made a prompt decision and ordered the Imperial Army to retreat, relying on the solid fortifications on the planet and the defense of two huge war fortresses. At the same time, a rescue signal was sent to the Imperial military. The 2nd Fleet of the Empire and the 4th Fleet of the Empire were resting in the Chang'an starfield. They were less than 10 days away from the front line of the Sakhalin starfield. Marshal von Bismarck only needed to hold on for 10 days. In just 10 days, he could wait for reinforcement and reverse the situation. Space war is extremely cruel, and it is easy to get stuck in the quagmire. A battle can easily last for several months or years. The longest one can even last for more than 10 years. Compared with the long battle, 10 days is just a blink of an eye. It is precisely because of this that Qin Yan did not send reinforcement immediately, but delayed for 5 days before notifying the 2nd Fleet and the 4th Fleet to go to the Sakhalin Star region. Qin Yan misjudged the situation. He did not know that Andre had mastered the secret art of soul resonance, trained a group of mecha masters with legendary strength, and conducted technical analysis on the Demon King mecha in his hand, and used every star crystal in the Northern Empire's treasury to create these 100 Demon King modified giant mechas. Qin Yan thought that Andre, like Nicholas, was not a concern at all. Compared with Andre, Qin Yan cared more about Marshal von Bismarck. The biggest obstacle for Qin Yan to ascend the throne and become emperor was the old Marshal. The old Marshal had been fighting on the front line and had a group of practical factions with outstanding military achievements under his command. These practical factions were not satisfied with Qin Yan and often raised objections in the military department, questioning the decisions made by Qin Yan. Qin Yan had long been full of hostility towards Marshal von Bismarck and his cronies. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qin Yan wanted to weaken the strength of the old Marshal and his cronies. In his original words, the front line is tight. It doesn't matter. There is no war without death in the world. Those old bones of them just have a chance to die. Marshal von Bismarck resisted stubbornly for 10 days under tremendous pressure, but there was no news of reinforcement. On the 15th day, the Imperial Army ran out of ammunition and food. On the 17th day, bad news came from the rear. Andre personally led a fleet to bypass the Empire's already riddled defense line and ambush the 2nd and 4th Fleets. The 5th and 7th Fleets were completely wiped out. On the 20th day, the Sakhalin defense line was breached, the Empire's 1st Fleet was wiped out, and Marshal von Bismarck died for his country. Later historians called it the Sakhalin defeat, which was a turning point for the Galactic Empire and the Northern Civil War. The 3 elite fleets of the Empire were destroyed, and Andre successfully recovered the Sakhalin starfield. He did not stop his ambition, turned defense into offense, and burned the war to the Chang'an starfield. The major media of the Galactic Empire were in an uproar. The Imperial military was also in chaos. At this moment, Qin Yun was in a high-end club on Shineon Star, holding a beautiful woman in his arms, drinking and having fun. When he learned that the Sakhalin starfield fell, the 3 elite fleets were destroyed, and Marshal Feng Bismarck died for his country, the wine glass in Qin Yun's hand fell to the ground and shattered. He sat on the sofa, his legs weak, and he couldn't stand up for a long time. The edge of the chaotic starfield. Xia Xingchen was driving a mecha and flying towards the Beast God Star. Beast God Star, you can already see green. Xia Xingchen looked at the Beast God Star from the starry sky and was surprised. On the surface of the originally desolate planet, you can already see scattered green plants. Swish. The Kinglang mecha passed through the thin atmosphere of the Beast God Star and flew over an orc village. Xia Xingchen remembered very clearly that when he left last time, this orc village was still a wasteland, with earthy yellow stones everywhere, bad climate, dust everywhere, lack of fresh water, and the Kinglang wood planted by the orcs with great effort was difficult to survive. Now, the village is shrouded in lush forests, and the changes are too great. Why has it changed so much in just a short time? Xia Xingchen was puzzled. Swish. Xia Xingchen landed in the open space in front of the village. Immediately, footsteps were heard in the village, and a group of orcs with hideous faces, wearing animal skins, and holding wooden sticks ran out. Again. Xia Xingchen remembered very clearly that the last time he came to the Beast God Star, he was attacked by the orcs. The orcs thought that humans were invaders who destroyed their homes and hated humans. However, Xia Xingchen was wrong. When the orcs ran out and saw that it was a human mecha, they immediately cheered excitedly and danced happily around the mecha. Women and children came out of the village, holding trays with various foods, mostly tuberous plants, in front of the mecha. Xia Xingchen didn't think that these primitive orcs could recognize his Kinglang mecha. Just when Xia Xingchen was wondering, an old orc wearing linen and holding a cane came out. It was the high priest. With a smile on his face, he walked to Xia Xingchen and said, "Child, you are back." High priest. Xia Xingchen saluted respectfully. He respected this wise old orc. High priest, I just landed, and they came out to thank me. Why is that? Xia Xingchen asked the question in his heart. Haha, not only thank you, but thank all humans. The high priest laughed. The reason for such a big change is still thanks to you. Me. Xia Xingchen looked confused. Yes. The high priest smiled and pointed to the trees outside the village. These seeds of drought-resistant plants are the ones you sent. There are also those tuberous plants called sweet potatoes that can grow in sandy land, taste good, and have a large yield, which saves us from famine. There are also building materials for building houses, and energy equipment. High priest, did I do all these? Xia Xingchen was completely stunned. Isn't it you? Impossible. The high priest shook his head, took Xia Xingchen into a house, and pointed to the logo on an instrument. The logo was a twinkling starry sky. Xia Xingchen was stunned. This logo was designed by him and Qin Jaina, and it was a logo of the Star Business Alliance. It's Jaina. Xia Xingchen felt a warm feeling in his heart. Chapter 15064 in 1. Xia Xingchen finally understood that after he left the Beast God Star, it was Qin Jaina who mobilized the Star Merchant Alliance to help the orcs who had lost their homes and were displaced. Qin Jaina did this for Xia Xingchen, of course. Xia Xingchen and the orcs have a deep connection. It was Xia Xingchen who should have done the work of helping the orcs. But Xia Xingchen was a man after all, not as careful as a woman, and was entangled in many things, so he couldn't take care of it at all. It was Qin Jaina who quietly cleaned up the mess for Xia Xingchen behind him. Helping the orcs was just one of the things. Qin Jaina quietly did many things for Xia Xingchen, so that he had no worries, and could concentrate on making his way in the Sea of Stars. Jaina, having you as my wife is the greatest blessing in my life. Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen sighed softly. When he thought of Qin Jaina, he couldn't help being restless, as if there were cat claws scratching his heart. He wanted to jump on the mecha immediately and fly to the Blue Star to find her and spend some time with her. Unfortunately, Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. He couldn't do that. The separation now is for the dependents in the future. Xia Xingchen comforted himself in his heart, took a breath, calmed himself down, and looked at the older orc in linen clothes. High priest, I have gathered 4 holy beast mechas. However, I didn't find any secrets, so I came here to ask you for advice. What? You have gathered all 4 holy beast mechas? So fast? The high priest was shocked. Yes, they are all gathered. Xia Xingchen nodded. Come on, follow me to the beast temple, the high priest said immediately. Xia Xingchen followed the high priest, passed through the deep and narrow underground tunnel, and came to the beast temple. Like last time, the high priest did not intend to enter the beast temple, and said, release the holy beast mechas. Okay. Xia Xingchen waved his hand, and 4 holy beast mechas emerged from the void, and floated above his head. Cyan-azure dragon mecha, red vermilion bad mecha, silver black tortoise mecha, golden white tiger mecha. The blue, red, silver and gold 4-color mechas were suspended in the air, emitting dazzling light. Dazzling. The 4 holy beast mechas. Finally gathered. I finally saw this scene in my lifetime. Ancestors. It took so long to gather them. The younger generation is ashamed. Shame. The high priest looked up at the 4 gorgeous holy beast mechas in the sky. Tears welled up in his eyes. He knelt on the ground, kowtowed and howled, and fell into a state of madness. High priest Xia Xingchen quickly stretched out his hand and pressed it on the high priest's head, using his mental power to calm his disordered mind. After a lot of effort, the high priest calmed down, breathing heavily, and sweat was all over his forehead. Thank you. I almost went crazy just now. The high priest bowed and thanked him. He was not exaggerating. He really fell into a crazy state just now and almost became a lunatic. High priest Xia Xingchen was also trembling. If he had acted a little later just now, the high priest might really have gone crazy. If the high priest went crazy, no one would know the secret of the holy beast mechas. Xingchen, do you know what these 4 holy beast mechas represent to the orcs? The high priest finally calmed down and said, I don't know. Xia Xingchen shook his head. It represents the former glory of the orc civilization. Now, the civilization of our orcs has declined and retreated to primitive society. However, we once created a brilliant civilization. And these 4 holy beast mechas are proof of the orcs' former glory. They are like flags, inspiring our people to look for the glory of the past. We believe, sooner or later, the orcs will be able to restore their former prosperity, the high priest said, and he became excited again, tightly grasping the crutch in his hand, and the veins on the back of his hand emerged. Xia Xingchen, you are the benefactor of our orcs. It is you who pointed out the direction for the orcs who fell into darkness. On behalf of the orcs, I sincerely thank you. The high priest knelt down and kowtowed to Xia Xingchen. High priest, you can't do that. Xia Xingchen hurriedly helped the high priest up. Since you have gathered 4 holy beast mechas, then I will tell you the core secrets about them. It is also the content of the last trial of the beast god. The high priest's eyes flashed with a strange light, and his fingers swept over the 4 mechas one by one. These 4 mechas were originally one. The 4 mechas can be combined into one, and become a beast god mecha. This is the secret of the holy beast mecha. What? 4 in 1? Xia Xingchen was shocked and stared at the 4 mechas in the air in disbelief. Yes. 4 mechas, combined into one, transformed into one mecha. This is the true face of the holy beast mecha. The beast god mecha. The power is 100 times, or 1000 times, or even 10,000 times that of the 4 holy beast mechas. The high priest was also very excited. So that's it. Xia Xingchen said excitedly, what should I do next? How can I get the secret of combining the holy beast mechas? Enter the beast god temple. Participate in the last trial, the legendary trial of the heart. The high priest said. But, before the trial, I have to remind you. The difficulty of this trial is extremely terrifying. According to the records of the orcs, when the orcs were once glorious, in tens of thousands of years, only less than 8 orc geniuses completed the heart trial. 10,000 years, only 8. Xia Xingchen couldn't help but smack his lips. This success rate was frighteningly low. In the past 10,000 years, countless orc geniuses came to participate in the heart trial, but only 8 passed. So many orc geniuses couldn't pass. Could he pass the trial smoothly? Xia Xingchen was unsure. According to Xia Xingchen's understanding, the orcs' talent in spiritual practice was not inferior to that of humans. Moreover, the beast god was the god of the orcs. Xia Xingchen was an outsider, so it was estimated that the trial would be more difficult. Is there any danger in the heart trial? Xia Xingchen asked in a low voice. He had decided that, if the trial was too dangerous, he would just give up. It was indeed very tempting for the 4 holy beast mechas to merge into a holy beast mecha. However, there were still many things waiting for Xia Xingchen to do, and he couldn't make any mistakes. No danger. If you fail, just wait for a while, and enter the beast god temple again for the trial. According to the records in the classics, the 8 people who passed the trial also tried countless times, and suffered a lot, before they barely passed. The high priest said, "It seems that it is almost impossible for me to succeed in the trial in one go." Xia Xingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Indeed. The high priest nodded. After all, this is the ultimate secret of our orcs, and it is not so easy to get. I want to try. Xia Xingchen looked up at the towering beast god temple, unwilling in his heart. Standing in front of the trial, is he going to retreat like this? This is not Xia Xingchen's character. He has always been brave and fearless. Chapter 1507, Trial of the Heart. Besides, the high priest said that the trial is not dangerous. Even if we fail this time, at least we know the content of the trial, and can accumulate some experience for the next trial. Xia Xingchen clenched his fists, and a fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. Well, of course I have to try. But, just try. The high priest nodded, pointed with his cane, and the door of the beast god temple opened. Xia Xingchen walked into the beast god temple with his head held high, and the door closed. He sat down in front of the huge statue of the beast god, waiting for the trial to begin. Outside the hall, the high priest shook his head slowly. What a pity, what a pity. Xia Xingchen is the most talented person I have ever seen. Unfortunately, he is an outsider. The heart trial is a trial created by the beast god for our race. There is no precedent in history for an outsider to pass this trial. The high priest sighed. He really hoped that Xia Xingchen could pass the trial, but the reality was cruel. Xia Xingchen's chance of passing the trial was very slim, and the high priest was not optimistic. Besides, in the previous heart trial, the drivers of 4 holy beast mechas entered the hall together to participate in the trial. In 10,000 years, only 2 groups of people passed. Xia Xingchen is the only one. Although I don't know what the content of the trial is, more people are always better than fewer people. The high priest continued to shake his head. Even if Xia Xingchen is gifted, he still has a fatal problem. That is, too little time. If he is willing to stay on the beast god star for a period of time, it may take 3 to 5 years. I will teach him the orc's sky skill. After learning the sky skill, the chance of passing the trial will be slightly higher. The high priest thought to himself, walked to the front of the beast god temple, and sat cross-legged. The high priest also had an important piece of information that he did not tell Xia Xingchen. Although the heart trial is not fatally dangerous, it takes a very long time to pass the trial. In the history of the orcs, among the 8 people who passed the trial, one group took 5 years and the other group took 10 years. Obviously, Xia Xingchen did not have so much time to waste. The reason why the high priest did not tell Xia Xingchen was that he did not want to undermine his confidence. Confidence is the cornerstone of success. The difficulty of the heart trial is too high. Xia Xingchen is a smart man, and he should give up soon. The high priest sat cross-legged in front of the door, waiting for Xia Xingchen to give up the trial. In the beast god temple, Xia Xingchen sat cross-legged and quickly entered a meditative state. Rumble. Thunder sounded in his ears, and a powerful consciousness whispered in his ears. Xia Xingchen suddenly opened his eyes, and found himself in a special space, surrounded by thick fog. 4 holy beast mechas stood on all sides of Xia Xingchen, motionless. In the fog, a figure emerged faintly, exactly the same as the beast god sculpture in the hall, exuding a powerful aura. Beast god. Xia Xingchen's heart trembled, and he bowed quickly. The beast god is a god of the orcs, and should be a celestial race. The beast god in front of him is not the celestial being itself, but a trace of consciousness left by the celestial being, and is the host of the heart trial. A long time has passed. I can't remember how much time has passed. Finally, someone has gathered 4 holy beast mechas to participate in the heart trial. Hey, why is there only one person, and he is an alien? It seems to be a human. The beast god consciousness was originally very happy to have a new trial participant, but when he found out that the trial participant was a human, he immediately frowned and said in a somewhat unhappy tone, "Humans can't participate in the trial?" Xia Xingchen asked nervously. "Theoretically, no. But no one has participated in the trial for too long. I can make an exception and allow you, a human, to participate. But the problem is, you are alone, and it is impossible for you to pass the trial. Go back and find 3 like-minded friends, and then come to participate in the trial." The beast god waved his hand, and his figure disappeared in the thick fog, and began to dissipate. This trial must be participated by 4 people. Xia Xingchen was in trouble. He has always been a loner, and it is really difficult for him to find 3 friends with equal strength. 1 RUI is 1. Although Zhang Yan is strong, I can't get along with him. Find Keeley and Miyamoto. They are a little weaker. I can't ask Master for help. Xia Xingchen was thinking in his mind. Apart from 1 RUI, he couldn't think of a suitable candidate. Not really. It's just that the heart trial requires 4 mechas to complete together. Can you drive 4 mechas by yourself? Haha, you should go back and find a friend to come together. I will wait for you here. The beast god laughed and waved his hand again, ordering him to leave. 1 person drives 4 mechas? Of course. Xia Xingchen was stunned and said quickly. To prove it, Xia Xingchen condensed 3 crystal clones, each of which entered the cockpit of the holy beast mecha. Together with the main body, there were exactly 4. You actually condensed 3 spiritual clones? Are you humans or monsters? The beast god was stunned. I know humans. The human brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. Therefore, some humans can condense 1 clone. You can actually condense 3. Do you have 2 brains? Xia Xingchen is quite knowledgeable about spiritual clones. What the beast god said is right. Most human mecha masters can only condense 1 spiritual clone. The reason is that the human brain is divided into left and right hemispheres. In theory, the spiritual planet can be divided into 2 and controlled separately. Theory is just theory. Most mecha masters will not condense spiritual clones. Because condensing spiritual clones means separating the left and right hemispheres of the brain, which is likely to cause schizophrenia, which is too dangerous. And it is impossible for someone like Xia Xingchen to condense 3 clones from the perspective of brain structure. Unless someone is gifted and has 2 brains. Or he is an alien race, such as the 1000-brain worm, which has thousands of brains, and it is not surprising to condense as many clones as possible. But Xia Xingchen is a human, and there are no 2 brains in his skull. Xia Xingchen had also thought about it, and got the answer. The source of faith. Because of the source of faith, Xia Xingchen was able to condense 3 clones. As for why the source of faith has such an effect, Ying Liu was vague, as if he was hiding something, and did not explain it clearly. Well, since you can drive 4 holy beast mechas at the same time, you are qualified to participate in the heart trial. Don't blame me for not reminding you that this trial is very difficult. You must be mentally prepared. The beast god reminded. Well, I will do my best. Xia Xingchen nodded. Then, the trial begins. The beast god waved his palm, and the surrounding scenery changed, and an unfathomable cliff appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen's location was nearly 1,000 meters away from the opposite side. This is the first level of the trial. The 4 holy beast mechas cannot fly or throw, and can only reach the other side of the cliff by jumping. The beast god's eyes were full of smiles. Chapter 1508, Antelope Flying. Xia Xingchen stood beside the cliff, looking down at the bottomless abyss, and couldn't help frowning. Can't fly, can't throw? Then how can I get across the cliff? Is it just a matter of jumping? Xia Xingchen immediately turned on the optical computer to simulate it, and found that, no matter which holy beast mecha, the jumping distance is at most equivalent to 1/4 of the total distance between the cliffs. Obviously, the distance between the cliffs has been calculated long ago, and it is impossible for the trial taker to pass easily. What will be the consequences if you fall into the cliff? Xia Xingchen looked at the beast god. You can try. The beast god smiled slightly. Xia Xingchen knew that he was in a fantasy world. The high priest said that there was no life-threatening danger in the trial, so he didn't think that falling off the cliff would kill him. Xia Xingchen immediately asked a clone to drive the fastest Suzuki mecha, stand beside the cliff, and jump to the other side with all his strength. Boom. The mecha's feet stepped on the ground, and 2 huge deep pits appeared. The whole mountain was shaking, and the Suzuki mecha jumped high, like a soaring bird. However, just like the result of the optical computer simulation, the Suzuki mecha lost its kinetic energy and fell into the cliff after jumping less than a quarter of the distance. Swish. The next moment, the Suzuki mecha and the crystal clone appeared beside Xia Xingchen, unharmed. You can make countless attempts. You only need to successfully reach the other side once to pass the first level. The beast god laughed. Although it is only the first level, it is not easy. Just try it. It's really stupid to jump to the other side without being able to fly. Xia Xingchen was speechless. Xia Xingchen is a mecha designer. He has designed nearly 1,000 mechas and seen countless mecha design drawings. He knows very well that almost all mechas do not have the ability to jump. Because, with the ability to fly, the ability to jump is completely useless. Unless there is a special need, no mecha designer will be idle and equip the mecha with components to assist jumping. Of course, the 4 Holy Beast mechas do not have components related to jumping. Xia Xingchen now has 2 choices. One is to modify the Holy Beast mecha, dismantle the legs of the mecha, and modify it into a mecha suitable for jumping. A distance of only 1,000 meters, only a small modification is needed, and you can easily jump over. However, Xia Xingchen does not think that the beast god will agree with him to do this. Owning 4 Holy Beast mechas is a condition for obtaining the qualification for the trial. Is a modified Holy Beast mecha still a Holy Beast mecha? Obviously not. Then, there is only the second option. The 4 mechas step on each other and become each other's springboards to jump to the opposite side. For example, the Suzuki mecha jumps first, and before it lands, the Azure Dragon mecha steps on the body of the Suzuki mecha and jumps forward. The Black Tortoise mecha then steps on the bodies of the Suzuki mecha and the Azure Dragon mecha respectively, and so on. In the end, as long as one mecha jumps to the opposite side, it will be considered a success. Isn't this the antelope flying across? It feels so stupid. Xia Xingchen simulated the scene in his mind and couldn't help but think of an ancient article from the Earth era that he had read when he was a student. Mecha is the highest crystallization of human technology, but they have to jump over a cliff in such a stupid way like animals. This trial is really stupid. However, Xia Xingchen speculated that this seemingly stupid method is the correct answer to pass the first level of the heart trial. The heart trial is normally participated by 4 mecha masters together. The purpose is to let the 4 sacred beast mechas merge into the strongest state, the beast god mecha. The purpose of this trial is to let the 4 mecha masters cooperate tacitly and communicate with each other. Only in this way can the 4 mechas be combined to exert the strongest combat power. If the 4 people are not in the same mind and the cooperation is poor, it is impossible to merge successfully. Although the antelope flying over looks stupid, it can test the tacit understanding of the 4 people. None of the 4 people can make mistakes, otherwise they will fail. I see. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, condensed 3 clones, entered the cockpit of the sacred beast mecha, and prepared to officially start the trial. Human, you are very smart. You found a way so quickly. However, it is easy to think of a way, but it is difficult to cooperate. Just try it slowly. The beast god's face was full of smiles. Let's start. Xia Xingchen arranged the order. The black tortoise mech was the heaviest and jumped first. The white tiger mech was too big and jumped second. The azure dragon mech was the third. The Suzuki mech, which he drove the fastest and lightest, jumped fourth. Boom. The black tortoise mech roared, and its heavy body jumped straight out of the cliff like a cannonball. The white tiger mech was the second one. When the black tortoise mech jumped to the highest point, it stepped on it accurately and continued to jump forward. Then it was the azure dragon mech. Finally, it was the Suzuki mech. Go. Xia Xingchen looked at the cliff opposite, which was getting closer and closer to him, and roared. However, the gap was huge. The Suzuki mech fell straight down and fell into the abyss when it was still more than 200 meters away. The first attempt failed. It's not that easy. Don't worry, take your time. The beast god sat on a stone nearby, still smiling. The beast god was not in a hurry at all. He remembered very clearly that the two groups of people who passed the trial before, one took 10 years and the other took 5 years. At the first level, they were both stuck for a long time. The longest group was stuck for 2 years, and finally passed by chance. The human in front of him must have been stuck for at least a few years. Swish. Xia Xingchen and the 4 holy beast mechas were teleported to the starting point. There was no frustration on Xia Xingchen's face. The failure just now was completely within his expectations. Want to pass the heart trial in one try? Xia Xingchen is not so naive. He did not rush to make a second attempt, but tapped the keyboard in front of the optical computer, collecting data from the previous failure and performing calculations. The method of flying antelopes is definitely correct. However, the details must be perfect to have the possibility of passing. How far and how high the first mecha jumps? When does the second mecha take off? At what time? And at what height? And land on the first mecha? When will the third mecha take off? All of these need to be calculated precisely, accurate to the millisecond and millimeter level. Next, Xia Xingchen tried 10 more times, and finally obtained enough information to calculate the trajectory of each mecha jumping in the air. It's quite fast, but it's useless. I'll give you the answer. Can you do it? The most difficult part of the heart trial is coordination. The coordination of 4 people must be seamless. Seeing Xia Xingchen standing confidently on the edge of the cliff again, the beast god shook his head, obviously thinking that his attempt would still fail this time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1509, Heart of the Beast God. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 holy beast mechas flew out from the cliff one after another, leaving 4 different colored tracks in the air. Swish. The first to jump out, the black tortoise mecha, fell off the cliff after completing its mission. Then came the white tiger mecha, the azure dragon mecha, and whoosh. A red figure stepped over the bodies of its companions one after another, jumping continuously like a dragonfly skimming the water, leaving a bright colored parabola in the air. Boom. The vermilion bad mecha landed steadily and stepped on the opposite cliff. Success. The 11th attempt was successful. Xia Xingchen's face was filled with the joy of success and excitement. Passed? On the other side, the beast god widened his eyes, his face full of disbelief. Only 11 times, and you passed the first level? This is too fast. The beast god was extremely shocked. The beast god thought that Xia Xingchen would need several years to pass the first level. Unexpectedly, he passed it smoothly in just a few hours. The two groups of people who passed the trial before took a very long time. Why did he pass it so quickly? Could it be? The beast god suddenly understood. In the past, there were 4 people who participated in the heart trial. No matter how well the 4 people cooperated, no matter how well they communicated with each other, even if they were quadruplets, it would be useless. Even if they were quadruplets, each of them was a separate individual with a separate mind. There must be a barrier between minds, and quadruplets are no exception. However, Xia Xingchen was different. He was only one person. One person differentiated into 3 mental clones and drove 4 mechas at the same time. There was no barrier at all between the operators of the 4 mechas. Xia Xingchen's brain sent a signal, and the other clones would immediately execute it, just like the left hand and the right hand, and the cooperation was of course extremely tacit. In other words, the biggest problem of the heart trial, cooperation. For Xia Xingchen, it simply did not exist. Xia Xingchen spent time thinking about how to crack the trial and calculating. As long as he knew the method and made a corresponding plan, Xia Xingchen and the 3 clones could complete it with perfect cooperation and dazzling people. Lord Beast God, I passed the first level. Let's go to the second level next. Xia Xingchen flew back in the mecha with a smile on his face and landed next to the Beast God. Okay, the second level. The Beast God was stunned for a moment and waved again. This time, a magma sea emitting hot steam appeared in front of him. The content of the trial is still very simple. There is a special creature living in the magma sea, the flaming flying fish. It is extremely fast and requires 4 mechas to surround and capture it. However, the temperature of the magma sea is extremely high. Except for the Suzuki Mecha and the Zuanwu Mecha, the White Tiger Mecha and the Azure Dragon Mecha cannot withstand the high temperature for a long time. Especially the Azure Dragon Mecha, the body is made of wood and is most afraid of high temperature. Therefore, how to cooperate with each other in a very short time to catch the flaming flying fish is a difficulty of this trial. The trial of the heart tests the cooperation of the 4 people. The second level is no exception. After several failures, Xia Xingchen figured out the habits of catching the flaming flying fish. In just half an hour, he caught the flaming flying fish and passed the second level. The beast god was stunned. This human boy is simply a monster. The heart trial is not difficult for him at all. The beast god has seen that the heart trial is not difficult for Xia Xingchen at all. The third level, the scene is in the ice and snow, and the content is that 4 mechas support each other and climb the iceberg. Xia Xingchen successfully completed it again. The fourth level, the scene is on the sea. The fifth level, the sixth level, until the 10th level. Xia Xingchen is getting more and more familiar with the heart trial, and the speed of breaking the levels is getting faster and faster. In just one day, he broke through the 10th level and came to a magnificent palace. The heart trial has only 10 levels. You have completed them all. Now, go and get your reward. A trace of loneliness appeared on the face of the beast god. He is a wisp of consciousness that presides over the heart trial. This job is very boring, and he stays alone most of the time. For thousands of years, he can only rely on observing the trial participants to have fun. Finally, a human boy came to participate in the trial. The beast god thought that he could make him happy for a while, but he didn't expect that Xia Xingchen passed the trial so quickly. Less than a day. Then, what awaits the beast god will be boundless emptiness and loneliness. It is unknown when the next trial participant will come. Xia Xingchen didn't know what the beast god was thinking. With joy in his heart, he climbed up the long steps and came to the palace. On the stone platform in the center of the palace, a crystal clear irregular crystal floated. The beast god introduced from behind. This is the beast god's heart, the core part of the beast god's mecha. With the beast god's heart, the 4 holy beast mechas have the ability to merge. Thank you. Xia Xingchen was overjoyed and stretched out his hand to hold the beast god's heart in his hand. As soon as his palm touched the beast god's heart, Xia Xingchen felt a surge of power surging from the crystal. You have obtained the beast god's heart. Congratulations, human. The trial is over. The beast god sighed and waved his hand suddenly. Swish. Xia Xingchen's consciousness left the virtual space and returned to reality. He found himself sitting cross-legged in front of the beast god statue. Nothing had changed. What had just happened seemed like a dream. However, the beast god's heart floated in Xia Xingchen's palm, emitting a dazzling 4-color light. Beast god's heart. I succeeded. Xia Xingchen was so excited that he couldn't help shouting. Xia Xingchen stood up, pushed open the door, and walked out of the beast god temple. The high priest was sitting on the stone in front of the temple. When he saw Xia Xingchen coming out, a smile broke out on his face. It's only been a day. You gave up so quickly. I thought you could hold on for a few more days. From the moment Xia Xingchen entered, the high priest was sure that Xia Xingchen would definitely give up, so he waited for him at the door. Give up. Xia Xingchen smiled, stretched out his palm, and presented the heart of the beast god to the high priest. Look what this is. Ah. The heart of the beast god. The high priest jumped up, his eyes widened, his eyeballs seemed to jump out of his eye sockets, his whole body was shaking, and he murmured, the heart of the beast god. I have seen it in the ancient murals. Is it really the heart of the beast god? Could it be that you have passed the trial? God of beasts, how is this possible? Haha, I did pass the trial to get the heart of the beast god. You have been saying that the trial is difficult, but you are just trying to scare me. It's actually very simple. Xia Xingchen smiled brightly. Simple. If it was simple, why did only 8 of our orcs pass the trial in such a long time? Maybe it's not that the trial is too simple, but that you are too strong. How can there be a monster like you among humans? The high priest shook his head. He was very wise and guessed the truth immediately. The trial of the heart is indeed difficult for others. It is simply impossible to eliminate the heart barrier between the 4 people. However, Xia Xingchen was alone, but could drive 4 mechas. There was no mental barrier at all, so it was as easy as taking something out of a bag. Chapter 15:10 The Strongest Mecha. In front of the beast god temple, the high priest stared at the shining heart of the beast god in Xia Xingchen's hand, his eyes wide open. The high priest still couldn't believe it, thinking he was dreaming. The high priest knew that Xia Xingchen was a leader among humans, and that he had a talent beyond ordinary people, and believed that he would definitely get the heart of the beast god smoothly. But not now. In just one day, Xia Xingchen passed the trial of the heart, which was known for its high difficulty. It was too exaggerated. I finally understand why humans are the overlords of the galaxy. The high priest shook his head slowly, showing a bitter smile, with mixed feelings in his heart, and said helplessly, compared with you humans, we orcs are all wooden sticks. In the long time of 10,000 years, only 8 beast god geniuses passed the trial, and it took 5 or 10 years. You only took 1 day. Xia Xingchen smiled. Maybe my luck is better. No. This is not luck. I saw your growth with my own eyes. I still remember, when I was on the Black Tower Star, I passed on the Sky High skill to you. At that time, you were still very weak, just a B-level mecha master. Alas, time flies, but that scene seems to be a lifetime ago. In just a few years, you have grown to such a point, which really makes me speechless. The high priest shook his head. He knew very well that Xia Xingchen was being modest. However, Xia Xingchen no longer needs to be modest now. Xia Xingchen has the heart of the beast god, which can make 4 holy beast mechas merge into a beast god mecha. The beast god mecha is the strongest mecha in the Milky Way. Coupled with Xia Xingchen's boundless mental power, his combat power is invincible under the quasi-celestial being. Even the quasi-celestial being may not lose. According to the ancient books of the orcs, the beast god mecha is extremely powerful. However, driving this mecha consumes a terrifying amount of mental power. If possible, you should continue to meditate and practice to increase your mental power to the star level. You are now at the peak of the planetary level, which is still a little weak. The high priest sighed. Xia Xingchen nodded in agreement. The more powerful the performance of the mecha, the more mental power it consumes to drive it. The mental power level of the mecha master determines the upper limit of the mecha's performance. Before the legendary level, there were some mecha masters who were not well off. They were obviously A-level and B-level mecha masters, but they could only drive C-level and D-level mechas. After the legendary level, this situation rarely happened. Any legendary mecha master is a giant, with a big family and a big force behind him, and he is not short of money at all. The mecha driven by the legendary mecha master must be the strongest mecha he can drive. Therefore, among the legendary mecha masters, the level crushing is very serious. The nebula class is definitely not a match for the planetary class. The planetary class can definitely not beat the star class. Because between the two, in addition to the difference in mental power, the difference in mecha performance is also very large. Of course, this is common sense. Xia Xingchen can fight against the quasi-celestial being at the planetary level. He is an outlier among outliers and a genius among geniuses. High Priest, how to use the heart of the beast god. How can I combine 4 mechas into a beast god mecha? Xia Xingchen held the heart of the beast god in his hand, and couldn't wait to drive the beast god mecha to try whether the performance of this mecha is as terrifying as the legend. I don't know about this. The high priest shook his head. The method of using the heart of the beast god has long been lost. However, with your intelligence, it should be easy to understand it. Yes. Xia Xingchen nodded, and immediately sat cross-legged, ready to figure out the use of the heart of the beast god. Beep beep. The mecha communicator next to him beeped, and an important message came. Xia Xingchen was curious, and glanced at the screen. His face turned pale, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his body swayed slightly. He held onto the wall with his right hand and barely avoided falling. The message was about the fall of the front line of the Galactic Empire. The Marshal died in battle? Xia Xingchen's mind went blank, and he couldn't believe it for a moment. How could the Marshal die? He has been on the battlefield for a long time. In terms of military talent alone, He is a famous general standing at the top of the era. He spent so much time setting up defenses in the Sakhalin starfield. How could Andrei break through it easily? Even if he lost the battle, the marshal must have a chance to escape unscathed. How could he die in battle? Is it Qin Yun who is holding him back again? Xia Xingchen's heart was in a mess. After a few minutes, Xia Xingchen calmed down a little and used the superwave communicator to contact Hui Langxing to verify the authenticity of the message. Although Xia Xingchen was reluctant to believe it, the reality was cruel and the message was true. Qin Jana used the relationship and financial resources of the Star Alliance to get the detailed battle report of the Sakhalin defeat and sent it to Xia Xingchen. After receiving the battle report, Xia Xingchen read it carefully, and the more he read, the more shocked he was. Xia Xingchen originally thought that Qin Yun must be dragging his feet again this time. He found that he was wrong. It is true that Qin Yun did not send reinforcement at the first time. But reinforcement are not the main problem at all. Because the reinforcement of the 2nd and 4th squadrons were killed by Andrei halfway, and the whole army was annihilated. It is simply impossible to kill a large fleet halfway, because the fleet will definitely jump and fly in the warp in the subspace. Depending on the size of the fleet, after flying a certain distance, the jump engine will overheat and need to be cooled. At this time, the fleet will leave the subspace and take a short rest. The rest time is very short, and the starry sky is vast. It is like looking for a needle in a haystack to capture the traces of the fleet. There is a possibility to succeed in the ambush halfway. There is a traitor in the fleet, and this traitor is in a high position, and even the commander himself is a traitor, revealing the coordinates of the rest point. But this is obviously impossible. Xia Xingchen knows the real reason. Precognition. Andrei has the ability to foresee and can see the future. Precognition is an extremely rare and extremely terrifying supernatural power. It is because of foreseeing that Andrei can predict the rest points of the 2nd and 4th fleets and ambush them. It is because of foreseeing that Andrei has long anticipated Feng Bismarck's arrangement, knows the weak points of his defense line, and knows his retreat plan. Feng Bismarck is a famous general of the empire. But in front of Andrei's predictive ability, all of Feng Bismarck's actions are exposed, like a baby, being played with and applauded. Of course, in addition to the extremely perverted military strategy brought by Andrei's predictive ability, his army's combat effectiveness is also amazing. In particular, 100 meter high magic god modified mechas played a vital role in the battle. No matter how strong the Empire's first fleet is, it is impossible for 100 legendary mecha divisions to participate in the battle at the same time. Andrei has so many powerful fighting forces. Whether it is military strategy or military strength, the Galactic Empire army was completely crushed by Andrei. The fall of the Sakhalin starfield is also an inevitable result. After Xia Xingchen finished reading this battle report, his back was full of cold sweat and his clothes were soaked. Chapter 1511 Great Crisis. The defense line of the Sakhalin starfield has been breached, the marshal died in battle, the Imperial army was defeated, and Andrei has led his army into the Chang'an starfield. Xia Xingchen frowned. He didn't expect that so many major events had happened in the starry sky in just a few days on the Beast God Star. When Nicholas had just betrayed the Empire and declared the independence of the North, Xia Xingchen had predicted that the Northern Army would definitely invade the Empire from the Chang'an starfield. The Chang'an starfield is the industrial area of the Empire. In addition to Lubenstar, the #1 military and industrial planet in the galaxy, many planets are very rich and have abundant mineral resources. Therefore, not only Nicholas, but also his son Andrei, inherited his father's strategic thinking and invaded the Chang'an starfield. The next step will definitely be to plunder mineral planets and fight to support the war. And Andrei is extremely vengeful. He invaded from Chang'an star region for another important purpose. It was to target me. He would definitely send people to attack Lingju Star to wash away the shame. And my hometown Mana Star. He would definitely carry out a massacre. And Lubenstar. He knows that I have a close relationship with the Li family of the Tang Dynasty group. And the Li family will never be a traitor, surrender and betray the empire. I must rush back to Chang'an Star region immediately. Xia Xingchen stood up suddenly, his face grim, and said goodbye to the high priest, ready to set off immediately and rush to Chang'an Star region at full speed. The high priest saw that Xia Xingchen looked absent-minded and knew that something big was going to happen, so he reminded him to be more careful. High priest, you take care of yourself too. Xia Xingchen bowed and thanked the high priest. Whoosh! The Azure Dragon Mecha broke through the air and instantly passed through the atmosphere, leaving the Beast God Star and flying towards the Chang'an Star region. Let's go to the Coffin Star first and join up with our friends from the Star Domain arc. Andre is powerful and I alone can't be his opponent. Xia Xingchen was worried and used the Super Wave communication device to contact the Star Domain arc. Boss. Keele's big face appeared on the screen. Seeing Xia Xingchen, Keele was very excited and shouted, "Keele, move back and don't block the screen. I want to see the master too." Behind Keele, Miyamoto Kenichi was dissatisfied and grabbed his shoulders and dragged him back. "If you two want to fight, go fight somewhere else and don't delay the adults' conversation." Lee Huamui was wearing a white captain's uniform with a cold face and phoenix eyes staring at Keele and Miyamoto Kenichi. In addition to these three people, Tixing, Zumoi, Giles and others also stood behind Lee Huamui. Seeing that his friends were all safe and sound, Xia Xingchen felt relieved. "Since everyone is here, I will tell you directly." "Well, sir, you say." "Master, we are listening." "Boss, just give your orders." Everyone nodded and kept silent. There was silence in the Star Domain arc. Everyone had serious expressions, waiting for Xia Xingchen's orders. The current situation is not good. Extremely bad. You are on the Coffin Star, closer to the front line than me, and should have more information than me. Huamui, you tell me. Xia Xingchen frowned and said, "Sir, the situation is indeed serious now. The Empire has lost 3 fleets, and has suffered heavy losses. Andre took advantage of the victory, and has invaded the Chang'an starfield, occupying more than 20 mining stars. Qin is a cowardly guy. He has withdrawn all the regular troops of the Empire back to the vicinity of Xianyuan Star. The entire Chang'an starfield is already in an undefended state. Without the defense of the regular army, it is only a matter of time before it completely falls." Li Huamui said. "Qin is such an idiot." Xia Xingchen was furious and punched the console. "The most scarce thing in the north is resources. Although Andre was the winner of the Sakhalin battle, Marshal von Bismarck was a famous general, and although the situation was extremely unfavorable to him, he still tried his best to severely damage Andre. If Qin transferred all the troops of the Empire to the Chang'an Star region, and borrowed troops from the 2 Grand Dukes of the Antarctic Star region and the Penglai Star region, he would definitely be able to defend the Chang'an Star region. Now, it's simply sending fat meat to Andre's mouth. Stupid. Stupid. It's really stupid. Qin has always only thought about himself. He is very suspicious and is afraid that the 2 Grand Dukes of the Antarctic Star region and the Penglai Star region will also take the opportunity to rebel. Then his throne will be lost." Li Huamui whispered. "The throne was never his. A piece of trash like him wants to ascend the throne and become the emperor of the empire. Dream on." Xia Xingchen said coldly, "There are no defenders in Chang'an Star region, and Andre's front should be advancing very quickly. Where has he fought to? Andre is attacking several outer planets of Luban Star with all his strength." Li Huamui pressed a few buttons and opened a star map of Chang'an Star region. The red area is the part occupied by Andre, and the white area is still under the control of the Empire. The red area occupies less than 1/5 of the entire Chang'an Star region. Luban Star, Chang'an Star, and Mana Star are all in the white area. Why is Andre fighting so slowly? Xia Xingchen was very surprised. The speed of the front line's advancement was different from what he expected, and it was much slower. According to his guess, Andre had at least occupied the capital Chang'an Star. The resistance among the people was fierce. Andre aroused public indignation. Although the Imperial Army retreated, the mecha divisions of various planets spontaneously formed guerrillas, including many high-level mecha divisions, and even legendary mecha divisions rushed back to their hometowns to join the battle. Li Huamui said, "I see. Chang'an Star region is a place where talents are born. The hometowns of many legendary mecha divisions are in Chang'an Star region. In order to defend their homes, those legendary mecha divisions who lived in seclusion and lived in peace with the world could not help but stand up." Xia Xingchen sighed. The entire Milky Way is the territory of mankind. The total population exceeds 1 trillion. The specific population figures can no longer be census. The workload is too large, so we can only make a rough estimate. There are many legendary mecha divisions in a population of 1 trillion. However, most of the legendary mecha divisions are very low-key and do not show off. The legendary mecha divisions recorded on the legend list are basically famous mecha divisions who serve the Empire. In fact, there are legendary mecha masters living in seclusion on many unknown small planets. Now, seeing the flames of war reaching their homes, the legendary mecha masters can no longer sit still and join the war. The gorillas alone are enough to give Andre a hard time. However, these people are scattered and used to fighting on their own. They can stop Andre for a while, but not for too long. Sooner or later, they will be defeated by the Northern Army. The situation is still very serious. Xia Xingchen frowned. My lord, what should we do? Li Huamui asked. I know Andre very well. He will definitely attack these 2 planets. Manastar and Lubenstar. Xia Xingchen said. Chapter 15:12. Losing integrity. Lubenstar. Andre will definitely attack. Andre will definitely send troops to massacre the hometown of Lord Manastar. Lord, you are really as good as a god. Li Huamui's eyes lit up. I will immediately arrange soldiers to deploy on these 2 planets and ambush the Northern Army. No. Xia Xingchen hurriedly stopped him. Lord, don't you send troops to guard these 2 planets? Li Huamui looked confused. She couldn't guess Xia Xingchen's thoughts. Everything will wait until I get back. You send some scouts to keep an eye on these 2 planets. Once there is any movement, report to me immediately. All people on the star domain arc cannot act on their own. This is a military order. Do you understand? Yes, Lord. Everyone present saluted and shouted. Xia Xingchen cut off the communicator with a frown. Li Huamui was born a star pirate and did not receive a good education when she was young. Although she worked hard and taught herself many military theories, her talents were limited and she could only be qualified for the position of captain. Her strategic vision was a little short-sighted and she could not become a qualified general. More importantly, the army on the star domain arc only obeys Xia Xingchen. Although Li Huamui can mobilize the army, he also issues orders in the name of Xia Xingchen. It is precisely because of this that Xia Xingchen cannot let Li Huamui go to deploy defenses. First, Xia Xingchen is not confident in Li Huamui's military talents. Second, even if Li Huamui is a military genius, what can he do? Andre has the ability to predict the future, and even the famous general of the Empire, Marshal von Bismarck, was defeated by him. If Li Huamui rashly sends troops, Andre can play him in the palm of his hand with a little trick. Everything must wait until Xia Xingchen returns before we can make a long-term plan. In terms of military strategy, Xia Xingchen does not think that he is better than Marshal von Bismarck. However, from the previous confrontation, Xia Xingchen learned that Andre's predictive ability is not invincible, especially for Xia Xingchen. Because Xia Xingchen was carrying the source of faith, Andre could not predict Xia Xingchen's future, and even his surroundings seemed to be covered with a layer of unclear fog. The source of faith seemed to be able to disrupt time and space, making Andre's predictive ability invalid. If Andre did not have the ability to predict, Xia Xingchen would not be afraid of him at all in military terms. Xia Xingchen and Andre's fates were entangled, and they were destined enemies. Xia Xingchen was Andre's nemesis. Everything will be done when I get back. Don't make any mistakes. Don't do it. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang Mecha and flew quickly in the starry sky, but he had a vague ominous premonition in his heart. Chang'an Star Region. A large starship flew towards the direction of the coffin star. The starship was already scarred, and the external armor was covered with pits and bullet marks. 5 of the 7 large engines had been scrapped, leaving only 2 barely usable, which were running at full power and overloaded. This is an Imperial battleship. Judging from the paint on the outside, it is the famous Imperial Star Winchester. Inside the spacecraft, most of the soldiers were wrapped in bandages, and blood was seeping from their wounds. Even the regular hemostatic spray was used up. One can imagine what kind of brutal battles this starship had experienced. All the staff in the bridge had a piece of white bandage wrapped around their right arms, which was mourning. A man in a vice admiral's uniform stood in front of the command desk, looking down at the screen, which showed many crisscrossing star roads. He was calculating the situation. After an unknown amount of time, he slowly raised his head, his face full of fatigue, his eyes full of bloodshot. He was the Marshal's son von Claude. General. An adjutant came up and whispered, "We originally wanted to rush into the Sakhalin starfield to rescue the Marshal. Unexpectedly, we were ambushed by Andrei and received the bad news that the Marshal was killed. I don't understand why we don't fight to the death. Avenge the Marshal. Instead, we want to escape. This is a cowardly act." Hearing the adjutant's words, the senior generals in the bridge also cast their eyes over. They didn't understand why General Claude made such a decision. You know, Marshal von Bismarck is his father. Isn't it the son's job to avenge his father? General Claude shook his head slowly and smiled bitterly. "My father died in battle, and I feel more distressed than any of you. He is my father. But, what's the point of us fighting to the death? It's just a waste of life. My father once taught me that a leader should not only be able to attack, but also learn to retreat. If I fight to the death, even if I lose, I will only be captured, and Andrei will definitely not kill me. But, what about the soldiers at the bottom? General, kindness cannot lead the army," the adjutant shouted. "Anyway, I won't let my men die in vain." General Claude waved his hand, not wanting to continue discussing this issue. It was a miracle that the Winchester could escape successfully. Fight to the death. There is only death. There is no possibility of fighting at all. It's just a one-sided crushing. I can't die. I want to avenge my father. So, no matter what happens, even if I have to endure humiliation and live in humiliation, I can't die. General Claude clenched his fists, his eyes firm. "General, since we have escaped, why don't we just flee back to Xia Star? Chang'an Star region has been abandoned by the top leaders of the empire. What's the point of us staying here?" The adjutant continued to ask. "Xia Star? You don't know Qingyun. We all came from the front line. Who do you think is responsible for this great defeat?" Claude asked. "The responsibility lies first with Qingyun for not sending out reinforcement in time. The second one lies with the 2nd and 4th fleets. The 2 fleets were robbed and killed halfway and were completely wiped out. This has never happened in the history of the empire. The Marshal was alone and had to hold out for 20 days, running out of ammunition and food. He fought off Andrei's attacks time and time again, and finally died heroically for his country. The greatest responsibility lies with Qingyun," an adjutant said immediately. "What you said is the fact. The fact we saw with our own eyes. But who cares? The Sakhalin starfield and the Chang'an starfield were completely destroyed. Someone must take the blame. And the person who takes the blame had better have enough status and be willing to take the responsibility. With Qingyun's character, he will definitely put all the responsibility on his father. Because his father's status is high enough, and he has passed away. The dead will not refute." Claude said sadly. "If we return to Xia Star, we will be put under house arrest immediately and never see the light of day again." "General, you are right. We just intercepted the signal sent by Xia Star." Qingyun made a public speech, saying that the person responsible for the great defeat was Marshal von Bismarck. The Marshal made a huge strategic mistake and his reputation was ruined in his later years. An adjutant suddenly said. Chapter 15:13 Claude asks for help. What? Qingyun is simply calling a black cat a white cat. The Marshal fought bravely and led the troops. Even if he died, he did not retreat a single step. It is said that the Northern Army found the Marshal's body. He was still standing, his eyes wide open, holding a weapon, and standing firm. What an injustice. The Marshal died with his eyes wide open. He died with his eyes wide open. Inside the Winchester, everyone had tears in their eyes, and was very excited. Claude's face was gloomy, as if water was about to drip out. Claude knew Qingyun's character, and was not surprised at his behavior. After cursing loudly, everyone gradually calmed down and suddenly realized a serious problem. Xia Star could not be returned for the time being, and there were still pursuers from the Northern Army behind them. What should they do? General, the detector shows that 3 large battleships are moving in our direction. An adjutant suddenly shouted in surprise. The pursuers. The pursuers are catching up again. These guys are just like maggots on my heels. They have been chasing me all the way from the Sakhalin starfield to here. I can't get rid of them. It's over. Our spaceship's engine is damaged, the speed has dropped significantly, and we can't even make a jump. We can't escape this time. Everyone was in a panic, and their eyes fell on General Claude. Go to this place and send a distress signal. General Claude placed his right hand on the star map and pointed to a desolate starfield not far away. Although the star map was very desolate and showed only a few stars, everyone knew that there was a hidden planet there. Coffin Star. The location of the Imperial Royal Research Institute. General. Is our destination Lingjiu Star? I heard that the garrison of Lingjiu Star was destroyed during the last Shinran Rebellion. Has it been rebuilt? Everyone hesitated. They had heard that the Shinran Rebellion dealt a heavy blow to the Lingjiu Star garrison. Now the defense of Lingjiu Star might not be able to withstand the attack of the Northern Army. If Lingjiu Star can't withstand it, they will be inviting a wolf into the house and implicate Lingjiu Star. If the Imperial Royal Research Institute is also occupied by the Northern Army, their sin will be great. The defense force of the Coffin Star is really gone. Xia Xingchen's star domain arc has been docked at the Coffin Star for defense. Claude said in a deep voice, the target we are looking for is not Meredith, but Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen? The most wanted criminal in the Empire? Xia Xingchen has been convicted of treason and is a complete rebel. We are asking for help from the rebels. Isn't that betraying the Empire? We are also rebels. General, are you serious? This is digging your own grave. Everyone was stunned, and they shouted excitedly. It must be said that the brainwashing of the media in the Empire is still very skillful. In just a few years, Xia Xingchen's image among ordinary people has changed from a young and promising hero with outstanding military exploits to a notorious and bad criminal in the Empire. Claude's men didn't believe it at first, but 3 people make a tiger, and all the media fabricated and distorted the facts. After a long time, they couldn't help but doubt it. Rebel? General Claude sneered. Do you really believe that Xia Xingchen betrayed the Empire? Princess Crossing is the legitimate heir to the Empire. What about Qin Yun? A despicable thief of the country. Qin Yun has no other abilities, but he is really good at fabricating charges. I really don't know what charges he will fabricate against my father. The cabin fell into a deathly silence, and everyone bowed their heads in silence. I, Claude, swear to be loyal to the Empire forever. But it is to the Empire that I'm loyal, not Qin Yun. Not to this illegitimate usurper. Xia Xingchen is a rebel. Princess Crossing is the legitimate heir to the Empire. We are the rebels. Besides, do we have any choice now? General Claude clenched his right fist and slammed it on the console, veins bulging on his forehead. Now we only have 2 choices. Ask Xia Xingchen for help. Even if it means bearing the infamy of a rebel, we must fight to survive. To avenge my father, Marshal von Bismarck. Or, fight to the death here as a deserter, and I humbly. Tell me your choice. Live. General, we choose to live. As long as we can avenge the Marshal, we are willing to give up our dignity and live in humiliation. Everyone's eyes were red, and they shouted hoarsely. General Claude nodded and personally sent a distress signal to the Coffin Star. He turned around and ordered, Winchester, all members listen. Shut down the spacecraft engine. Organize your weapons and equipment, and fight to the death with me. You must hold on until reinforcement arrive. We must survive together. Seeing the pursuers catching up with the speed of the Winchester, it can't escape far. Instead of running away and being beaten by the enemy in a hurry, it is better to form a battle formation and fight the enemy, which can delay a little more time. Yes. Everyone on the spacecraft shouted. Starfield Arc. Li Huamei received General Claude's distress signal as soon as possible. She immediately contacted Xia Xingchen, but Xia Xingchen had entered the subspace and was in a curvature navigation state. All signals were blocked and could not be contacted at all. Li Huamei immediately called the core members of the Starfield Arc to come over and make a decision together. General Claude is asking for help? What are you waiting for? Of course, rescue immediately. Go, go, go. Rescue quickly, without delay. Hearing this news, everyone was immediately furious. Especially Giles and others. They were originally the subordinates of General Feng Bismarck. Following the order of the marshal, they pretended to be the Northern Army, captured the prison spaceship, and rescued Xia Xingchen. They were listed as Class A wanted criminals by the Empire. In desperation, they had to go to Longton Star and join the Jiaozi organization. Giles had a deep affection for Marshal Feng Bismarck. When he learned of the marshal's death, he fainted on the spot. After waking up, Giles yelled that he would go to the Sakhalin starfield alone to assassinate Andre and avenge the marshal. In the end, he was pulled back by everyone and gave up. General Claude is the marshal's only son. He is in danger now. Giles immediately became excited and went to the mecha platform to prepare for battle. Giles, stop right there. The adults have ordered that no one can act privately. Li Huamei shouted loudly. Giles turned a deaf ear to him, lowered his head, and continued to walk forward quickly. Miyamoto. Stop him. Li Huamei was anxious and jumped. Kenichi Miyamoto folded his arms and leaned against the door, just in front of Giles. Miyamoto, don't stop me. We are still brothers. Giles looked up and looked at Miyamoto. Kenichi Miyamoto smiled faintly, still keeping his arms folded. When Giles passed by, he suddenly reached out and grabbed Giles' shoulders. Miyamoto, you. Giles was furious, and although he knew he was no match for Kenichi Miyamoto, he was ready to attack. Giles, wait a moment. I'll go with you. Kenichi Miyamoto said with a smile. Chapter 15-14 5 Major Corps. Miyamoto, are you willing to go with me? Rescue General Claude? Giles was surprised and happy, and didn't know what to say for a while. Miyamoto Kenichi didn't answer, but nodded slightly. I'll go too. Keeler stood up suddenly, looked at Miyamoto Kenichi, and whispered, how can I let you go alone to show off? And me? I'll go too. In the conference room, many people stood up. They were all members of the Yazi organization, but most people were still sitting, waiting for Li Huamei's order. There are now 5 major corps on the Star Domain arc. The new Bloody Mary Corps under Xia, the Liang Expeditionary Force of the Liang clan, the Mutant Corps that Xia Xingchen recruited after defeating the Celestial Emissary, the Yazi Corps of the remaining Yazi organization, and Xia Xingchen's guards, formerly the new Blood Demon Corps of the Snow Demon Knights. Among the 5 major corps, the new Blood Demon Corps has the fewest people, but the best equipment. The mecha is the Zhuang mecha built by Xia Xingchen himself, and its combat effectiveness is very strong. The Liang Expeditionary Force is not to be compared. This alien corps composed entirely of Liang warriors is the strongest corps under Xia Xingchen. Once it goes to war, there has never been a battle that it cannot win. What's more terrifying is that due to the racial characteristics of the Liang clan, the flesh is extremely tough. As long as the head is not chopped off, and the heart is not completely destroyed, it can recover. Therefore, the Liang Expeditionary Force suffered surprisingly low losses. The Mutant Corps is the worst equipped among the 5 corps, but it has the largest number of people and its combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. Needless to say, the new Bloody Mary Corps was built by Li Huamei herself. Li Huamei also has selfish motives. When Xia Xingchen is not here, she will naturally tilt resources to the new Bloody Mary Corps. Therefore, their weapons and equipment are not bad, and their combat effectiveness can be ranked after the Liang Expeditionary Force and the Mutant Corps. Among the 5 corps, the Jiaozi Corps has the worst equipment and the fewest people. The only strong ones who can be ranked are Keeler and Miyamoto Kenichi. Originally, Rusfan's strength could be almost the same as these 2 people, but after Xia Xingchen destroyed the assassin organization and rescued Rusfan and Nina, he left quietly after his body recovered, leaving a note saying that he was going to go on his own. Rusfan is a proud man and is unwilling to be weaker than others. Everyone knows this, so they didn't try to keep him. Among the 5 major corps, the 4 strong corps did not express their opinions. Only the weakest Jiaozi organization expressed its willingness to advance and retreat with Giles to rescue General Claude. Nonsense. It's just nonsense. Li Huamei said angrily with a cold face. The master has clearly given orders, but you are disobeying them. Tixing, take them all down. No one can leave the Star Domain arc today. Miyamoto Kenichi showed his arrogance. His right hand was already on the hilt of the sword at his waist, and he said coldly, I want to see who can stop me. The other members of the Yazi organization also stood up and formed a human wall between Giles and Li Huamui. Although no real fighting had taken place yet, the air was full of gunpowder. For a moment, there was a civil strife in the Star Domain arc. Li Huamui's pretty face flushed with anger, and her slender fingers pointed at the tip of Miyamoto Kenichi's nose, trembling slightly. Stop it. At this moment, Kile stood out and blocked the two groups of people. The cynicism on his face disappeared, and his expression was serious. The boss will be back soon, and you are actually fighting among yourselves. How shameless. Sit down. Kile was originally a carefree person, with a casual nature, and he hated to order others the most. Back then, Longton Star was surrounded by the Imperial Army. Under the pressure of the situation, Kile had no choice but to stand up and take over the important task of command. He was originally a killer with a calm personality. Over time, he was slowly honed. When Kile stood out, he was full of power. Although he was not as terrifying as Xia Xingchen, everyone couldn't help but feel their breath stagnate and sat down one after another. Li Huamui knew that she had lost her composure and her face became even redder. If a civil strife broke out because of such a small matter, she really didn't know how to explain to Xia Xingchen. Kile, you have to know that I'm just following orders. No one can act privately. This is the order of the adults. Li Huamui tried to persuade Kile. At least he could remain calm and was a reasonable person. The boss did say that not long ago. We are not fish and do not have such a bad memory. Kile smiled and joked, easing the tense atmosphere again. You followed the master the earliest, and you know his temper. No one can break the rules he set. I can't, and neither can you. Kile, persuade them, and wait for the master to come back, and we will make a long-term plan. Don't make it difficult for me. I'm really exhausted. Li Huamui couldn't help sobbing. Xia Xingchen handed over the command of the Star Domain arc to her. She thought she could do it. After all, she saw that Xia Xingchen was very relaxed, often a hands-off boss, and the legions under him were also well organized and never had any trouble. However, when Li Huamui took over, she found that it was not the case at all. Xia Xingchen was a natural commander. Not to mention the small Star Domain arc, the total number of crew members was only tens of thousands. Even if he commanded the Imperial Starship Army with millions or tens of millions of people, he would be able to do it easily. Li Huamui couldn't do it. She has redoubled her efforts to learn military command courses and carefully handle relationships in all aspects. Li Huamui found that no matter how hard she tried, she could not do what Xia Xingchen did easily. If it weren't for Kile, there might have been civil strife just now. I really tried my best, but I still couldn't do it well. Li Huamui even began to doubt her own ability. Sister Huamui, Kile said in a deep voice, I know your hardship and tiredness. Not everyone can be a commander. I also know that we should obey the boss's orders. But this is the only thing that cannot be done. General Claude must be saved. If we don't save him, not only us, but the boss will regret it for the rest of his life. Li Huamui was stunned and looked up. Will the master regret it for the rest of his life? I know that General Claude has a close relationship with the master, but he is just a general of the empire. Sister Huamui, you have only known the boss for a short time. I don't know the real relationship between him and General Claude. Kile said in a deep voice, if it weren't for General Claude, the boss might just be an ordinary miner on Manastar. It was General Claude who brought the boss out of the slums of Manastar and arranged for him to join the army and enter the military academy. Back then, when the artificial intelligence crisis broke out on Lubenstar, it was General Claude and the boss who defeated Athena and saved the planet. And General Claude's father, Marshal von Bismarck, risked the death of his entire clan and let Giles and others break into the prison and rescue the master. Hearing these past events, Li Huamui was nervous and sweating. She had only heard that Xia Xingchen and General Claude had a good relationship, but she didn't expect that the relationship was so close. Xia Xingchen was actually brought up from Manastar by General Claude. I almost made a big mistake. I hope it's not too late now. Everyone in the Star Domain arc, listen up. Enter combat status. We will set off immediately to support the Winchester and rescue General Claude. Li Huamui shouted loudly. Chapter 15:15, Encircled. Although Li Huami ordered all members of the Star Domain Arc to organize their weapons and equipment, she did not lose her mind and let everyone attack to rescue the Winchester. The Coffin Star must be defended. Li Huami discussed with the commanders of the 5 major corps and finally decided to let Keeley and Tai Xiang take the Jiaozi Corps and the New Bloody Mary Corps to drive small starships to rescue General Claude. The other 3 corps stayed on the Star Domain Arc with Li Huami to defend the Coffin Star to prevent any emergency. Li Huami's move was not careless. Moreover, according to the intelligence sent from the Winchester, the pursuers only had 3 starships, at most 3 mecha battalions. The Jiaozi Corps and the New Bloody Mary Corps should be able to handle it easily. Soon, the 2 attacking corps were ready. Keela, Miyamoto Kenichi, Tai Xiang and others were all rubbing their hands in the Mechas. They had been living a leisurely life on the Coffin Star for a while, which made them feel suffocated. Keela, do you want to compete to see who can destroy more enemy mechas? Tai Xiang grinned. Before Keela could answer, Li Huami's cold face appeared on the screen, scolding. Tai Xiang, our goal is to rescue the general. Remember, a quick battle, a quick decision. Once the Winchester is out of trouble, you immediately guard and return to the ship. Don't fight. Got it, big sister. Tai Xiang was also a rebellious star pirate, who didn't obey anyone, but in front of Xia Xingchen and Li Huami, he was like a good baby, and nodded quickly. Tai Xiang's embarrassment was naturally seen clearly by others through the public channel. Keela even laughed out loud. Miyamoto Kenichi shook his head slowly, speechless about Tai Xiang's performance. He believed in the ancient Bushido, and was extremely chauvinistic. Yazi, everyone attack. New Bloody Mary group, attack. Keela and Tai Xiang shouted. I wish you all a triumphant return. On the bridge, Li Huami turned on the transmission device. Swish. A flash of blue light passed by, and more than a dozen small starships appeared outside the Star Domain Arc, carrying 2 corps, a total of nearly 1,000 mecha divisions, flying towards the Winchester. At this moment, all members of the Winchester, under the command of Claude, were fighting with 3 starships of the Northern Army. The battle was not as thrilling as Claude imagined. The 3 starships of the other side did not show the firepower they should have. The attack was weak, and they had been conducting tentative attacks. However, every time Claude wanted to retreat, the firepower of the other side suddenly became fierce, making it impossible for him to retreat. Claude was also a soldier who had experienced many battles. He immediately realized that the other side was playing cat and mouse. They even ventured to approach the Winchester and landed through the docking bay. It was clear that they wanted to capture him alive. Damn it. Amid the rumbling of artillery, Claude hid behind the bunker and fought with the enemy who broke into the Winchester. General, reinforcements are coming. Reinforcements are really coming. An adjutant suddenly glanced at the radar and found that there were more than a dozen light spots moving quickly towards him. He was very surprised and shouted loudly. Hearing the sound, the others immediately looked out of the porthole. Under the inky black starry sky, it was visible to the naked eye that the hatches of more than a dozen small spacecraft were opened, and thousands of light spots were constantly thrown out, forming a diamond-shaped square formation, flying rapidly. Stars. General Claude clenched his fists tightly, with tears in his tiger eyes. Claude didn't know that when he was excited to see the reinforcement, in the starry sky not far from the battlefield, there was a reorganized fleet of the Northern Empire, hiding with the Mirage system turned on. On the flagship, the commander, Lieutenant General Rogoff, showed a look of surprise on his face. Next to Lieutenant General Rogoff stood 2 boys who looked exactly the same, the Grant brothers. Your Majesty, you really guessed it right again. Our siege of the Winchester really led out the defenders of the Coffin Star. Lieutenant General Rogoff said excitedly. Your Majesty, Andri has always been a master of strategy, making plans and winning battles thousands of miles away. This is nothing. The Grant brothers were in tune with each other and spoke together, as if they were one person. Their young faces were full of fanatical expressions, and they did not hide their extreme admiration for Andri. Of course. Your Majesty is the one who defeated Marshal von Bismarck. Some people in the Empire call the old Marshal a military god. Haha, in my opinion, Your Majesty, Andri is the real military god. General Rogoff was also flattering. Although Andrei was not present, the Grant brothers in front of him were Andrei's favorites. His words might be passed to Andrei through them. Even if it was just a few words, it would be of great benefit. General Rogov, everything is as His Majesty expected. We are proceeding according to the original plan. The Winchester is just a bait. Our real goal is to capture the Coffin Star. His Majesty was defeated on the Coffin Star, so he is very concerned about this battle. The Grant brothers said. Of course. Lieutenant General Rogov nodded quickly. Swish. The Northern Fleet removed its disguise, and the army appeared from the starry sky, cutting off the retreat of the Jiaozi Corps and the New Blood Demon Corps and surrounding them. Oh no, we are ambushed. There are so many enemies ambushing. Are they waiting for us? Keeley and Tai Xiang were both stunned. By the time they reacted, it was too late. What should we do? If we retreat now, there is still a possibility of breaking through. Tai Xiang roared. No. Our goal is to save the general. We must ensure the safety of General Claude. Keeley shouted. Okay. Let's rush in first and find the general. Tai Xiang drove the mecha and took the lead. Ambush. On the Star Domain arc, Li Huamui saw a large number of northern fleets suddenly appear on the radar. Her eyes widened, and she looked incredulous. How could there be an ambush? And there are so many enemies. It seems to be a reorganized fleet. Could it be that the enemy is sure that we will send reinforcement? How is this possible? I just decided. Li Huamui shook her head, feeling confused. Maybe it's Andre. I heard that one of his abilities is foreknowledge. The blood demon stepped forward and whispered. Precognitive ability. Can he see the future? No wonder he can defeat the old marshal. Of course, this is no longer important. The important thing is, what should we do next? Keeley and Tai Xiang were surrounded, and Li Huamui was anxious and at a loss for a while. Under normal circumstances, Li Huamui would immediately send other legions to rescue. However, the other party clearly knew that he would send reinforcement, deliberately using the Winchester as bait, and then besieging the Yazzie and the New Bloody Mary regiment to attract more reinforcement. This tactic is a very old tactic of encircling a point and attacking reinforcement. Although it is old, it is very effective. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15-16. Each shows their abilities. Want to surround them and attack the reinforcement? Can they surround Keeley and Tai Xiang? Can they beat us? A tall warrior of the Liang tribe came up with a smile on his face. It was Zaka, the commander of the Liang expeditionary force. Zaka and Tai Xiang knew each other well and had a very good relationship. Tai Xiang was surrounded, but Zaka was not panicked at all. Because Zaka knew the strength of Tai Xiang, Miyamoto Kenichi, and Keeley very well. After taking the promotion potion, the three of them were all at the peak of S level, and they were only one step away from becoming legends. Want to besiege them? According to previous combat experience, a reorganized Imperial fleet may not be able to do it. Haha, I thought I caught a rabbit, but I didn't expect that the cage was a Tyrannosaurus. Zaka laughed loudly, looking like he was watching a good show. Hearing Zaka say this, Li Huamui felt a little relieved. The enemy is certainly better in strategy. However, in terms of strength, it is far inferior to the 5 major corps under Xia Xingchen. Especially the Liang Expeditionary Force, which has won every battle and has never been defeated. Even if Keeley and Tai Xiang are in danger, it should be safe to let Zaka lead people to rescue them. Phoenix Dance. Broken Star Slash. 3000 Worlds. Kill all. Miyamoto Kenichi drove a sword mecha newly developed by Khan family craftsmen, named Namasha, which looks like an ancient Japanese general's armor. It is very gorgeous and quite eye-catching on the battlefield. What is even more eye-catching is Miyamoto Kenichi's gorgeous swordsmanship. The new Namasha mecha holds swords in both hands. They are not ordinary laser lightsabers, but 2S level mecha weapons, one named Star Soul and the other named Star Soul. These two weapons were excavated from the ruins of the celestial beings and have been hidden in the institute. Miyamoto Kenichi is a sword fanatic. When he learned that the institute had such treasures, he begged Meredith. It is hard to imagine that such a chauvinistic man like Miyamoto Kenichi would beg like a woman. No one knows what kind of deal he made with Meredith and how much he paid. However, these two S-class mecha weapons eventually fell into the hands of Kenichi Miyamoto. Swish, swish, swish. A series of dazzling sword beams passed by, and the mechas of the Northern Army were like paper, chopped into pieces one after another, and a huge explosion occurred. Kenichi Miyamoto, no one can stop him. Xingchen drove a star skeleton beast armor, holding two heavy firepower laser machine guns, constantly shooting at the enemy's densely populated areas, constantly cursing, and his expression was very excited. Keela sneaked quietly and entered the Winchester first. The enemy mechas along the way did not even notice his figure and suddenly exploded and turned into a fireball and fell. In addition to the three of them, the soldiers of the Jiaozi Legion and the New Bloody Mary group are all elite soldiers who have fought hundreds of battles. These soldiers are veterans who have crawled out of the pile of dead bodies and have extremely rich combat experience. Coupled with the catalysis of the promotion potion, their mental power has generally reached S level or above. The most important thing is that the mechas they are driving are undoubtedly the most advanced models in the Milky Way. Even the regular army of the Empire, in front of them, is slaughtered at will like chickens. What about these Northern Army? Their mechas are far inferior to the regular army of the Empire. In the blink of an eye, the mechas of the Northern Army around the Winchester exploded like fireworks. Inside the spaceship, General Claude and a group of crew members were dumbfounded. Am I seeing this right? The Northern Army that has been chasing us all the way was blown up so quickly? What kind of monsters are Xia Xingchen's men? Why do I feel that they are all S-class mecha divisions? The combat effectiveness is terrifying. No wonder Qin Yun can't do anything to Xia Xingchen. His army is too terrifying. Everyone was shocked and talked about it. Keela entered the Winchester first. He killed the enemies all the way and went straight to the bridge. Miyamoto Kenichi followed with a team of mecha divisions and entered the spaceship. Tai Xiang led people to defend outside the spaceship to prevent the enemy from approaching. General Claude. Keela stepped forward and saluted Claude. Who are you? General Claude had never seen Keela before. My name is Keela. Keela said respectfully. Oh, Keela, I heard Xingchen talk about you. Claude immediately smiled. Where is Xingchen? Boss. He is still on his way to Lingjiu Star. General, we will protect your safety. Let's break out immediately. Let's talk about it when we return to Lingjiu Star. Keela said. Okay. With you elite soldiers and generals, it will be easy to break out. Claude laughed. He had never laughed so happily since his father died. At the same time, Claude was a little envious and looked at Keela, Miyamoto Kenichi and others with curiosity. Claude had never seen such a powerful mecha core. It was a little stronger than the strongest core in the Empire. God knows how Xia Xingchen trained these strong men. If I could command such a powerful army, even if the number of people was smaller, I would be able to easily maneuver and conquer the battlefield. Maybe I could break into the front line and rescue my father. Claude sighed secretly. Xia Xingchen's men are so powerful. General Rogoff stared at the screen, watching the Northern Army's mechas explode and fall one by one, his body trembling slightly, and his heavy clothes soaked with sweat unconsciously. They are indeed stronger than ordinary people. The Grand Brother smiled slightly. You know, even your majesty has suffered at their hands. With such strength, your majesty naturally expected it. In fact, only a few of them are relatively strong. As long as these core members are killed, the others are not to be feared. The two brothers looked at each other and smiled brightly. Let's go. It's time to let the Snow Mountain teach them a lesson. The Grand Brothers drove the Snow Mountain mecha to fight. A giant mecha with a height of 100 meters appeared in the starry sky, with a silver-white paint shining, like a bright star. Huh, isn't this the Demon King mecha made by the two old men? Was it taken away by Andre from the Coffin Star? Xingchen was responsible for defense outside the Winchester. When he saw this huge mecha attacking, his heart skipped a beat, and he felt something was wrong. Get out of my way. I'll meet this big guy. Xingchen drove the mecha to meet it, firing at full power. The muzzle of the laser cannon rotated, releasing a series of laser beams, blasting towards the Snow Mountain mecha. Get out. The Grand Brothers looked contemptuous. The Snow Mountain mecha did not evade at all. Relying on the thick armor, it took Tixion's attack. With a big hand, it slapped Tixion. Bang! Tixion was like a fly, slapped away by a slap, and had no power to fight back. Chapter 15-17 Breakout. The Star Skeleton Beast armor driven by Tai Xiang shot backwards like a meteor. The mecha kept rolling, and flew a distance of more than 10,000 meters before it barely stopped. Ha ha. There was a blood red in front of his eyes. It was the blood that blinded his eyes. Tai Xiang panted violently, watching the blood dripping down, and spreading blood on the screen. Beep, beep. The entire cockpit was filled with alarms, and flashing red lights. Alarm, alarm. The damage is more than 75%, and it can't continue to fight. The driver evacuates immediately. Evacuate immediately. The mechanical female voice kept reminding Tai Xiang to evacuate. One hit. My mecha is damaged by more than 75%. It has completely lost its combat capability. Tai Xiang was a little confused. Tai Xiang followed Xia Xingchen and fought all the way from the chaotic starfield. He participated in countless battles, big and small, and experienced hundreds of battles. But he had never fought such a powerful enemy. Ha! He's not dead. The Grant brothers looked down at the life detector. The mecha master who was just slapped away actually still had signs of life. This was beyond their expectations. It should be, because his mecha has strong defense. If it was an ordinary mecha, the slap just now would have definitely exploded in midair. The Grant brothers were confident in their own strength. Forget it. He has lost his combat ability, and is not a concern. Next one. The Grant brothers completely ignored Tai Xiang. The huge Snow Mountain mecha rushed around, and with a slap, a small starship exploded instantly, and blew into fireworks in the starry sky. The crew of the entire spaceship were all killed instantly. What kind of mecha is this? How can it be so powerful? Everyone shouted, looking at the behemoth in front of them. Each one of them was terrified. The Grant brothers had no intention of stopping, and a strange smile appeared on their faces. The giant palm of the Snow Mountain mecha kept waving, and with a slap, a starship exploded, as if slapping a fly. In the blink of an eye, 3 starships were smashed to pieces, and broken metal and human body remains were floating everywhere in the space. It appeared. It's the Ace Legion in Henri's hands. In the Cambridge of the Winchester, General Claude looked at the starry sky from the porthole, and saw the Snow Mountain mecha slaughtering wantonly, as if it was in an empty space. His body trembled uncontrollably, and his right hand tightly grasped the railing in front of the porthole, barely standing. Isn't this the demon mecha? Didn't Andre steal the demon mecha and make these knockoffs? Keeler was slightly startled when he saw the huge mecha in the starry sky. The demon mecha once won the mecha fighting competition organized by the Tang Dynasty group, and it is still the top performing mecha on the list. The demon mecha is the strongest mecha carefully made by Zhuo Leheng and Hao Xian, 2 recognized leaders in the mecha world. Compared with the demon mecha, other mechas are simply scrap metal. The problem is that, although the demon mecha has terrifying performance, it also requires a very high mental force from the driver. Even if it is a legendary level, it may not be able to bring out the true strength of the demon mecha. Only a quasi-celestial being like Andre has a huge mental force to support the demon mecha. Who is the driver of this fake demon mecha in front of him? Is it a legend? The other driver did not hide his identity, and his appearance can be seen on the public channel. There are 2 people in the cockpit, very young, no more than 20 years old, with childish faces, and still looks like a teenager. How is it possible? So young, can actually drive a demon mecha? Keeler was stunned. What's the use of saying this now? I'm going to chop it off. Ken Miyamoto watched his starships explode one after another, his eyes red, and he drove the Shinanamasha mecha out of the spaceship and flew towards the Snow Mountain mecha. Glorious cross slash. Ken Miyamoto roared, and the 2S level weapons in the hands of the new Namasha condensed light, flashing with dazzling brilliance. A sword energy like a cross flew towards the Snow Mountain mecha. The Grant brothers did not take Ken Miyamoto's sword energy attack seriously at all, and they were focused on destroying the starship, and did not pay attention to this side. Boom. The cross sword energy hit the Snow Mountain mecha solidly. Suddenly, a crack appeared on the surface of the Snow Mountain mecha. You actually hurt us. Rat, how dare you sneak attack? The Grant brothers roared, and the Snow Mountain Mech waved its hand, and a mountain-like iron fist smashed towards Kenichi Miyamoto. This punch was incredibly fast. Kenichi Miyamoto didn't have time to push the gear lever, and the new Oni warrior raised his two swords in crosses, trying to block the blow. Boom. As if hit by a meteorite, the new Oni warrior's mecha was also smashed back by the huge force. The two S-level weapons, Star Soul and Star Soul, were of high quality and did not break, but the new Oni warrior's arms were completely broken and lost their combat ability. Kenichi Miyamoto could only retreat in a panic, in a mess. Miyamoto also lost. Killer was shocked. What should we do? With such a terrible mecha blocking the way, we can't break through successfully. Alas, I have implicated you. General Claude looked anxious and blamed himself. Miyamoto got 2 S-level weapons, and his strength is already above mine. Even he was defeated by the enemy in one move. I would die if I went up. Besides, I have to protect the general. Killer was very calm, analyzing the situation, and did not do anything irrational or stupid, just because of Kenichi Miyamoto's defeat. The Winchester had restarted its engine, and under the protection of the mecha divisions of the New Bloody Mary Regiment and the Jiaozi Legion, it was slowly moving towards the direction of the Coffin Star. However, the Snow Mountain Mechas were killing people, and no one could stop them. The mecha divisions of the two legions kept falling, and the losses were extremely heavy. If this goes on, all the people in the two legions will die, and the Winchester will not be able to escape. In desperation, Killer could only ask Li Huamo for help. However, as soon as the distress signal was sent, Li Huamo's face appeared on the screen, and she said anxiously, Killer, you and your brothers hold your ground. I've asked Zaka to bring 10,000 soldiers of the Liang Expeditionary Force to meet you. Don't panic. Zaka is coming with the Liang Expeditionary Force. Killer was immediately delighted. The Fiery Sun Expeditionary Force has won every battle, and has never failed. The warriors of the Fiery Sun tribe are naturally strong. Although they cannot drive mechas, they can condense rock armor, and have amazing combat power. Relying on the Fiery Sun Expeditionary Force, Xia Xingchen has won many wars that were impossible to win. The Fiery Sun Expeditionary Force is here to support us. It's stable. Killer said to the other warriors. Great. The Fiery Sun Expeditionary Force is really strong. The mecha divisions outside the spacecraft were also excited, and their originally low morale was instantly revived. Chapter 15:18 Extraordinary Warrior. Seeing Killer and Tai Xiang trapped, Zaka was watching the show, but the more he watched, the more he felt something was wrong. Especially when the Snow Mountain Mech was killing people everywhere, Zaka finally realized that the enemy was well prepared. Not only in strategy, but also in strength. It crushed Killer and his team. Originally, Li Huamo arranged for the Mutant Corps to go to the battle to support the Winchester. Zaka thought that the Mutant Corps was too weak, so he volunteered to lead the Liang Expeditionary Force to the battle. Captain Zaka, be careful. Li Huamo reminded. Haha, don't worry. We have never lost. Zaka laughed and led 10,000 Liang warriors to fly out of the Star Domain Arc. The Liang Expeditionary Force is indeed the strongest corps under Xia Xingchen. The Liang warriors gathered rock armor one after another. Each of them was huge, with a height of 50 to 100 meters, comparable to the height of the Snow Mountain Mech. Swish. Like a sharp knife, the Liang warriors instantly tore a hole in the battle line of the Northern Army, killing people everywhere, and were invincible. The battlefield was full of fire and screams. The Northern Army was terrified by the killing. Lieutenant General Rogoff was terrified and screamed, "What kind of monsters are these? They are obviously not human. They are aliens. Their fighting power is too strong." Wanshi Star, the home planet of the Liang clan, is located in the border area of the Chaos Star region, and is very remote. The Chaos Star region is south of the Antarctic Star region and outside the territory of the Empire. The Siberian Star region, where the Northern Empire is located, is separated from the Chaos Star region by the Chang'an Star region, the Xianyuan Star region, and the Antarctic Star region, and is countless light years away. They have never seen the Liang clan, let alone how powerful the Liang clan's warriors are. Monsters. Too scary. The monsters are coming. Fight back immediately. The armor on them is too hard, and the artillery fire can't penetrate it. The Northern Army fell into chaos for a while, and screams came one after another. Don't panic, the Grant brothers shouted. They had destroyed most of the Mechas next to the Winchester, and sent soldiers to capture the rebels inside. However, the sudden attack of the Liang Expeditionary Force forced them to temporarily abandon the Winchester, and go to stop the Liang tribe. If the Liang tribe warriors rushed over, they and Keeley and others would work together inside and outside. Then the encirclement would be broken, and Andre's arrangement would be in vain. Whoosh! The Snow Mountain Mecha was huge, but its speed was also amazing. It arrived in front of Xia in an instant. Aliens. This is a war between us humans. Do you want to intervene? I advise you to retreat immediately. Otherwise, His Majesty Andre's army will crush your planet into dust. The Grant brothers shouted to Xia. They didn't know the relationship between the Liang tribe and Xia Xingchen, and thought they were just interstellar mercenaries who wanted to use Andre's name to scare the Liang tribe away. After all, interstellar mercenaries are all for money, and they don't want to ruin the fate of their own race because of money. Your Majesty Andre? Who is that? We don't know him. Apart from Her Majesty the Queen, we of the Liang clan only obey the orders of one person, and that is a Star Marquis. Xia shook his head, his face blank. He didn't know much about human society, he only knew the Star Marquis, not the others. Stupid aliens. To the Grant brothers, the fact that these aliens had never heard of His Majesty Andre's name was the biggest insult to His Majesty. They were furious and suddenly attacked. The Snow Mountain Mech suddenly swung his fist. His boxing was simple, but the power was ridiculously great, like a raging tide, surging. Bang! The iron fist of the Mech collided with the lava hammer in Xia's hand. The huge hammer trembled and burst into countless sparks. Xia took a step back, and the rock armor on his body actually cracked. How is it possible? I lost in a battle of strength. Xia's heart trembled. He was extremely confident in his own strength, but in terms of strength, even Xia Xingchen was not his opponent. However, the power of the opponent's mech was even stronger than that of the Liang clan. Hey, this alien race is so powerful. It can actually withstand the attack of the Snow Mountain Mecha. It's just a minor injury. The Grant brothers were also surprised. Since they drove the Snow Mountain Mecha, they have always responded to the enemy with one move. Either a punch or a slap. No one can withstand a blow. Xia was the first. No wonder they can easily defeat Miyamoto Kenichi and Teachum. They are just two young human boys, but the Mecha has such power. Xia shouted, but your little tricks can't do anything to our Liang tribe. Boom. 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 Xia and the Snow Mountain Mecha fought fiercely, and huge explosions continued to appear in the starry sky, and mushroom clouds rose. With the two of them as a center, everyone avoided them to avoid being affected by the overflowing energy. The result of their battle directly determines the situation. Xia wins. The encirclement is naturally broken, and the Winchester can return smoothly. The Grant brothers win. Then everyone will die here. The Star Domain Arc and the Coffin Star are now empty inside, and they are likely to be crushed by the enemy and directly broken. Countless people's hearts were hanging, and their eyes were watching the fierce battle between the two. On the surface, it seemed that they were evenly matched. But in fact, Xia was secretly complaining. He had clearly felt that the Grant brothers were stronger than him, but they were too young and lacked combat experience, so he could barely resist. The rock armor on Xia's body kept cracking, and the lava flowed everywhere like blood. No, I must persist. I want to win. There are still 10,000 compatriots behind me. There is also one Xi Star, and Her Majesty the Queen. If I lose, they will die too. I must win. Xia's body suddenly burst into dazzling light, and the rock armor completely turned into flowing magma, like a dazzling star. Breakthrough. Under tremendous pressure, Xia broke through on the battlefield, and became the supernormal warrior in the legend of the Liang clan. Supernormal warriors, like the legendary level of humans, must reach the peak state of mental power and physical body to successfully break through. Legendary warriors can control the domain, but extraordinary warriors can control armor. Xia's armor evolved into the lava armor, and his strength leaped, and his combat power was close to that of the legendary planetary warriors. Breakthrough. Slaying Sun. The commander of the corps broke through. He became the legendary extraordinary warrior. except for Her Majesty the Queen. This is the only extraordinary warrior in our tribe. The eyes of the warriors of the Liang tribe were all shining. The Liang tribe is gifted and naturally strong. A normal member of the Liang tribe can crush the human C-class mecha master without learning martial arts or armor control. The universe is fair. The more talented the race, the more difficult it is to improve its strength. The difficulty of the Liang tribe becoming an extraordinary warrior is far greater than that of humans achieving legends. Moreover, humans are spread all over the Milky Way, with a large population base, and there are many legendary warriors. The Liang tribe has only one planet, plus the low fertility rate, the small population, and extraordinary warriors are even rarer. Chapter 15-19 Brothers, here I come. Super Warrior. I finally broke through and became a super warrior. Xia clenched his fists, very excited. Thank you for this. You gave me enough pressure. Xia laughed and looked up at the Grant brothers. The energy detector shows that the energy reaction from this alien has suddenly increased by 30%. The Grant brothers were a little surprised. In this case, let's show our real ability. Originally, this power was reserved for dealing with Xia Xingchen. There is no way. This alien warrior is too strong. The Grant brothers looked at each other, and light surged in their eyes. Their pupils disappeared, becoming blank, and their hair stood up. Buzz buzz buzz. The huge body of the snow mountain mech was also flickering, and a terrifying energy rushed into the sky. Pa pa pa. Countless energy detectors on nearby spacecraft exploded, and the energy was too strong to be measured by the instruments. The Snow Mountain Mech is a copycat version of the Demon King Mech, and its power is 70% of the original. Although it is only 70%, it is already very terrifying. According to the calculations of Zuo Leheng and Hao Xian, only those who are at the level of quasi-celestial being or even celestial being can exert the true power of the Demon King Mecha. Before reaching the level of quasi-celestial being, the power of the Demon King Mecha will increase by 1 point for every point of mental power improvement. The Grant brothers were originally only A-level Mecha masters. At their age, being able to become an A-level Mecha master is already an extremely remarkable thing. But after learning the secret technique of soul resonance, the mental power of the two of them combined actually exceeded the legendary level. In the battle just now, the Grant brothers have been suppressing the resonance degree and controlling their strength at the nebula level. In fact, if the two of them resonate with all their strength is comparable to the planetary level. Soul resonance. The Grant brothers roared, and with the Snow Mountain Mecha as the center, the tyrannical shockwave continued to spread outward like ripples, with an astonishing momentum. Although Xia has become an extraordinary warrior and his strength has greatly increased, the Grant brothers have also shown their true abilities, and his situation has become even worse. In the fierce battle, Xia was in danger, and almost lost several times. He was knocked away again and again, and he barely held on with his strong willpower. Let's see how many times you can hold on. The Grant brothers sneered. The Fiery Sun tribe will never admit defeat. Xia stood up again and again. His armor was already riddled with holes, and his face was covered with dried blood. Xia is not an opponent either. On the Star Domain arc, Li Huamui was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, constantly moving around. Among the 5 legions, the 3 strongest legions were in trouble. Now Li Huamui only had the Mutant Legion and the new Blood Demon Corps. Needless to say, the Blood Demon Corps had too few people, less than 100 people, and was okay for some special tasks, but too weak for this kind of frontal battlefield combat. The Mutant Legion had the largest number of people, but too few strong ones, and the performance of the mecha was poor. The most important thing was that Li Huamui was afraid that they would have a different mind. Seeing that the battle situation was unfavorable, they might be the first to flee. At that time, if a chain reaction was triggered, the 5 major legions would be annihilated. My lord, Li Huamui whispered Xia Xingchen's name. She was already in despair, and her only hope was Xia Xingchen. As long as Xia Xingchen appeared, even if he was alone, he could turn the tide of the battle. The dark subspace. The King Lang Mecha flew alone in the empty space. Xia Xingchen closed his eyes, sat cross-legged in the cockpit, and maintained a meditative state. There was no spiritual energy in the subspace. Therefore, even Xia Xingchen could not meditate in the subspace to improve his spiritual power level. Xia Xingchen held the heart of the beast god in his hand. He was thinking and comprehending the secret of fusion hidden in the heart of the beast god. I don't know how long it took. Xia Xingchen suddenly opened his eyes. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. So that's it. The heart of the beast god is actually similar to the method of unity of man and nature that I practice. In order to drive 4 mechas at the same time, I divided the spirit planet into 4 parts. And the 4 mechas merged into the beast god mecha. Just need to merge the spirit planet again. This was originally impossible. But the heart of the beast god made this impossible possible. Xia Xingchen has already comprehended the secret of the heart of the beast god. He was a little itchy and wanted to try the fusion and experience the power of the beast god mecha. Forget it. Now it's important to hurry. If you want to drive the beast god mecha, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Xia Xingchen gathered his mind, and a pair of bright wings appeared behind the Azure Dragon mecha. The speed increased again and flew forward. Finally here. A few hours later, Xia Xingchen passed through a wormhole, arrived near the coffin star, and flew out of the subspace. Beep beep. The communicator rang frantically, and thousands of messages poured into the inbox. Xia Xingchen frowned, opened the inbox, and looked at it. His face changed drastically. Sure enough, something went wrong. These messages were all sent by Lihu Army. Some were text battle reports, and some were videos, all of which were real-time battle situations. After Xia Xingchen read them, his face became even uglier. What a joke. I clearly told them not to act on their own. Forget it. Now is not the time to complain. I hope it's not too late. A trace of anger flashed across Xia Xingchen's face, and the figure of the King Lang mecha flashed, and flew towards the direction of the Lingju star. Boom. Zaka was knocked away, and the rock armor on his body fell off. He was dying, and lost his ability to fight. Once the armor was broken, Zaka's height, which was nearly 100 meters, returned to its original height of only about 10 meters. The Snow Mountain mecha waved its hand, and grabbed Zaka in its palm. Brother Grant looked at Zaka, who was dying in his palm, and grinned. Alien, you have been defeated. Order your people to retreat, and I will spare your life. Brother Grant has seen the strength of the Liang clan from Zaka. One Liang clan warrior can fight him to a draw, so what about 10,000? Even if they can win, it must be a miserable victory. The Northern Army will not have the strength to attack the Star Domain Arc and the Coffin Star again. Brother Grant wants to achieve greater results, and take credit in front of Andre. Kill me. The warriors of our Liang clan are never afraid of death. Zaka roared with blood in his mouth. Not afraid of death. Good. We will kill you. And kill your men. Then report to His Majesty, and send a large army, to crush your bullet planet. Brother Grant was furious, and exerted his strength suddenly, trying to crush Zaka into meat paste. Swish. At this moment, a green figure flashed by with the sound of thunder. The Grant brothers were shocked to find that the hand that the Snow Mountain mech had grasped was broken at the wrist. And this huge hand followed the green shadow and flew far away before slowly stopping. It was a green dragon-shaped mech, holding the hand of the Snow Mountain mech with both hands and pulling the fingers apart one by one, and rescued Zaka. Ah, Lord Savior. Zaka saw the familiar mech in front of him, and the familiar indifferent face in the cockpit, and he screamed in surprise, feeling like he was dreaming. The person who came was Xia Xingchen. Chapter 1520 Mecha Fusion. Xia Xingchen smiled, looked at Zaka, and whispered, "You've worked hard, leave it to me next. My lord, the enemy is very strong, you must be careful." Zaka reminded. Xia Xingchen smiled, his eyes fell on the Snow Mountain mecha, and stared at the Grant brothers in the cockpit. Seeing that the Grant brothers were so young, less than 20 years old, and could actually drive a mecha with 2 people, Xia Xingchen frowned slightly. Human mechas have evolved over a long period of time, and the operating system has been continuously upgraded. Today, the most advanced mechas are all mental sensing. The mecha master's mind changes, and the mecha will make corresponding movements. The gear lever, pedals, keyboards and other accessories are all auxiliary, allowing the mecha to make more perfect and flexible movements. It is precisely because of this characteristic of mental sensing that the driver of a mecha must be a mecha master, not 2 or 3. In that case, it is easy to cause mental disorder, and the performance of the mecha will not only not improve, but will decrease. However, on the giant mecha in front of him, there are two mecha masters. Xia Xingchen's omniscient domain unfolded, sensing their brain waves, and found that they were extremely similar, like the original body and the clone of one person, and it was impossible to tell that they were two people. It seems that the elder celestial being is behind this again. He gave Andre a secret technique related to mental power. It allows the mental power of the two people to merge together and drive the super mecha that was originally impossible to drive. Xia Xingchen quickly guessed the truth. When Xia Xingchen looked at the Grant brothers, the two brothers also looked at Xia Xingchen with curious eyes. You are the rumored Xia Xingchen, the son of the devil who once turned the north upside down. The Grant brothers trembled slightly when they mentioned Xia Xingchen's name. In the Northern Empire, Xia Xingchen's reputation is very loud. Of course, it is not a good reputation. He has many nicknames: son of the devil, killer, executioner, big devil. Of course, the Grant brothers have heard of it. Their bodies trembled, not because of fear, but because of excitement. Great. As long as we can kill you, our names will spread across the stars. Lord Andre will also reward us and give us promotions. The eyes of the Grant brothers were full of greed. In their eyes, Xia Xingchen was a mountain of gold. As long as they could kill Xia Xingchen, wealth and glory would be just around the corner. Too young. Xia Xingchen shook his head slightly and whispered, "What do you mean? Are you looking down on us by relying on your age? You may not be that old." The Grant brothers retorted, "I mean, you are still too young. It would be a pity if you died now." Xia Xingchen said lightly with a cold face, "Ridiculous. It's you who will die. You used to be a legend in the starry sky, and this legend will end in the hands of us two brothers." The Trent brothers were furious and took the lead. The snow mountain mech flew up, and its huge body completely enveloped Xia Xingchen. The huge iron fist felt like a meteorite, trying to kill Xia Xingchen. Whoosh! A pair of starlight wings appeared behind the Azure Dragon mecha, flapping gently, and teleported to a distance of 10,000 meters near the Winchester, and put Zaka into the spacecraft. "Boss, you must be careful." Inside the Winchester, Keela was bandaging Miyamoto Kenichi's injuries, and looked up and shouted to Xia Xingchen, "Master, I lost to these two teenagers. They are very powerful. I'm not their opponent, and I'm ashamed of you." Miyamoto Kenichi's upper body was naked, wrapped in thick bandages. In the previous battle, not only was his mecha scrapped, but his body was also seriously injured. Not far from Keela, Tixing fell to the ground, and several medical staff were giving him first aid. His injuries were even more serious, and he didn't even have the strength to stand up. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly, and his eyes fell on the starry sky around the Winchester. There were many mecha wreckages and broken human limbs floating there. From the mecha logos and the mecha combat uniforms on the corpses, Xia Xingchen could see that these were all warriors on the Star Domain arc. At least 300 mecha divisions were killed near the Winchester alone. Most of these people were veterans of the Jiaozi organization, and even followed Xia Xingchen from the beginning. However, they are all dead now, and there is no body left, only fragments and residues floating in the cold starry sky. Xia Xingchen's face was full of anger, his eyes were wet, and his nose was slightly sour. War is cruel, and there will always be sacrifices. Xia Xingchen understood this truth, but he still couldn't accept that his comrades and friends died one by one. "Did you do it?" Xia Xingchen looked up and looked at the Grant brothers flying towards him. "Of course it was us." The Grant brothers laughed. "You will soon become like those corpses." Xia Xingchen shook his head, and his eyes became even colder. Swish! 4 holy beast mechas appeared in the starry sky. 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 blue, and 1 red. The 4 mechas were majestic, and they exuded terrifying energy fluctuations. Compared with the huge snow mountain mecha, the holy beast mecha was much smaller, just like a toy. Big means strong. You little mechas. Why would you fight against our snow mountain mechas? You can smash them with one slap, just like hitting a fly. The Grant brothers grinned. The heart of the beast god. Xia Xingchen did not respond, but raised his right hand, and the heart of the beast god flashed with brilliant light. Swish! The light suddenly surged and turned into a pure white, covering the 4 holy beast mechas. Boom! A terrifying aura rose to the sky, as if it was the Big Bang of the universe, and a strong energy storm spread. The light dissipated in an instant, and the 4 holy beast mechas disappeared, replaced by a huge mecha with a height of 100 meters. This mecha was dark gold all over, and its appearance was exactly the same as the statue of the beast god in the beast god temple. Behind its body, there appeared colorful wings of light that were 10,000 meters long. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen's 3 crystal clones had disappeared, leaving only his original body, with blazing light emitting from his eyes and a holy glow on his face. In Xia Xingchen's brain sea of consciousness, above the spiritual power ocean, the 4 spiritual power planets that were originally separated also merged into one. This spiritual power planet was huge in size, occupying the entire space of the sea of consciousness. The vast spiritual power ocean also slightly lowered an arc, and a huge vortex appeared, spinning rapidly. Beast God Mecha. This is the Beast God Mecha. Xia Xingchen couldn't describe his feelings at this moment in words. He felt an infinite power surging all over his body. Gently clenching his fist, he even had the illusion that the entire universe was in his palm. Merged together, the Grant brothers were dumbfounded. They had never heard that 4 mechas could merge into one. Chapter 15:21 Terrifying Power. So what if we merge? I'll kill you. The Grant brothers yelled. Xia Xingchen's face darkened, and he looked at the 2 young men who didn't know how high the sky was and how deep the earth was, and shook his head slowly. Swish. The beast god Mecha stretched out his hand, and a silver drill condensed in his palm. With a light wave, the drill flew out. With a flash of fire, the drill had pierced the chest of the Snow Mountain Mecha. A big hole appeared in the cockpit, and the Grant brothers turned into ashes in an instant. Boom. The Snow Mountain Mecha exploded, turned into a ball of fire, and its body exploded into pieces. Countless people saw this scene, and they were stunned with surprise, their faces pale, and their hearts beat wildly, as if they were about to jump out of their chests. Everyone can see how strong the Grant brothers are. Even Zaka, the strongest warrior under Xia Xingchen, is not their opponent. However, Xia Xingchen made a move, and with just one blow, the Grant brothers died. At that moment just now, everyone in the starry sky felt a mountain of pressure, as if time had stopped, and suddenly they couldn't move. Strange. Monster Xia Xingchen is a real monster. Too scary. The rumors are true. He is really a terrifying devil. Xia Xingchen is notorious in the Northern Army. In the rumors, Xia Xingchen was praised to the sky, saying that one person and one machine destroyed a legion. One person single-handedly destroyed a 1,000,000 robot army. Most people thought this was an exaggeration. However, when they saw Xia Xingchen show his strength with their own eyes and killed the Grant brothers with a casual blow, those rumors instantly flooded into their minds, and panic spread rapidly like a plague. The morale of the Northern Army collapsed instantly. Even the commander, Lieutenant General Rogoff, was sweating profusely, his legs kept shaking, and he was about to go into shock. Retreat. Retreat. The battle failed. Retreat immediately. Lieutenant General Rogoff knew that the situation was over, and issued an order. The Northern Army spacecraft and mecha began to flee in a hurry, and the battle line was in chaos. For the Northern Army, the Grant brothers were already godlike figures. But such a strong man couldn't even withstand a move from Xia Xingchen. It was beyond everyone's expectation. Boss, shall we chase them? Keeler shouted excitedly. Don't chase a desperate enemy. We have suffered heavy losses. Everyone return to the Star Domain Arc immediately. Xia Xingchen shook his head. The remaining mecha divisions gathered around the Winchester, protecting the spacecraft as it retreated. Xia Xingchen drove the Beast God Mecha and stayed at the end to cover the retreat for everyone. Xia Xingchen was on guard, fearing that Andre would have some tricks up his sleeve. Fortunately, the morale of the Northern Army collapsed, and they could only run away in panic. The Winchester safely entered the Coffin Star and docked at the airport. The Beast God Mecha is more powerful than I thought. With this mecha, no one in the entire galaxy can be my opponent except for a quasi-celestial being like Andre. In the previous battle, Xia Xingchen had roughly figured out the basic performance of the Beast God Mecha. It's a pity that the Grant brothers are too weak. They can't fully display the power of the Beast God Mecha. This mecha should still have great potential. Xia Xingchen was filled with emotion. As a mecha designer, Xia Xingchen has always believed that the mecha is a combat tool. The real powerful one is the mecha master, the human who designed the mecha. But for the beast god mecha, Xia Xingchen has only two words in his mind: worship. The technology of the beast god mecha has surpassed human beings for many eras. Just like the ancient people who ate raw meat and drank blood, when they saw the plane whizzing through the sky, they would also think that it was the arrival of the gods and worship them. Xia Xingchen returned to the Star Domain Arc, arranged for the wounded to recover, and then summoned all the middle and upper level personnel to the conference room. As soon as Xia Xingchen walked into the conference room, he found that Li Huami, Qile and others were kneeling in front of him. "What are you doing?" Xia Xingchen asked curiously. "Boss, it's because I didn't listen to your orders and acted privately that so many brothers died." Qile lowered his head and knelt on the ground, his face full of regret. "No, it's my inability. I can't handle the heavy responsibility. Sir, please punish me," Li Huami said with tears in her eyes. "So it's because of this matter." Xia Xingchen's face was cold, and he walked past Li Huami and Qile. The two suddenly felt a strong force, which lifted them up, and they couldn't kneel down. Xia Xingchen walked to the center of the conference room, looked around, and his eyes swept over his comrades. He bowed suddenly, and said in a deep voice, "It's not your fault. So many brothers died, it's my fault. As the commander of the spacecraft, I left my post without permission, and have been wandering in the starry sky. I made my brothers bear so much pressure. So many brothers died, and you didn't obey my orders, because you wanted to save General Claude. General Claude is my benefactor, master, and brother. I'm very grateful to everyone for saving the general from the siege." "Sir. Boss. Sir, don't say that." There was an uproar in the conference room. No one thought that Xia Xingchen would apologize to them. "Everyone, I called you here not to punish you, but to express my gratitude. It is because of you good brothers that I, Xia Xingchen, am not fighting alone. Everyone is tired. Go back and rest first. We will rest on the coffin star for 3 days." Xia Xingchen raised his head and directly announced the disbandment. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and a stone fell from their hearts. Li Huami and Qile did not obey orders, causing huge casualties. This matter is strictly speaking very serious. If Xia Xingchen dealt with them according to military law, both of them would suffer. Xia Xingchen has always been strict in military management, and no one expected that he would give Li Huami and Qile a break. The Lord has changed a lot since he came back this time. Yes, no one can guess what he is thinking. Why guess those things? I only know that the Lord is more humane and more sentimental. He really values us. He is not like the officials of the Empire who treat us as cannon fodder. Privately, the soldiers of the Star Domain Arc were talking about it. "I'm finally back. This is my home." Xia Xingchen felt at ease when he returned to the Star Domain Arc. He first went to the deck's mezzanine and found the black cat Xiao Cab. The little guy was sleeping soundly as usual. When he saw that it was Xia Xingchen, he was immediately surprised and said, "My dear Meow Master, you are back. I can feel that you have become stronger. You are smart." Xia Xingchen scratched Xiao Ca's chin, let Xiao Ca squat on his shoulder, and went to the control core of the Star Domain Arc to find the robot Jia. Chapter 1522 Solomon's Bottle. The exposed circuit on Jia's chin crackled with sparks, which was a sign of its happiness. "Jia, thank you so much." Xia Xingchen did not regard Jia as a robot, but as a life, and expressed his gratitude to it. "You are the captain. Of course I have to obey your orders," Jia said immediately. Next, Xia Xingchen went to the mecha factory and met Kang Xiu and a group of Kang family craftsmen. "Sir." Kang Xiu was repairing a damaged mecha. When he heard Xia Xingchen coming, he quickly raised his head with oil on his face. Other mecha craftsmen also gathered around. Their bodies were full of oil smell and their hands were also oily. Xia Xingchen didn't care and hugged them one by one. Xia Xingchen knew very well that the current powerful combat power of the Star Domain Arc was due to the hard work of these mecha craftsmen behind the scenes. "Xingchen." A gray-haired old man staggered over with a bottle of wine in his hand and shouted excitedly, "Father free." Xia Xingchen walked forward and hugged the old man tightly, as intimate as before. "Grown up. Xingchen, you really have grown up. Father Free laughed and joked. I still remember that day when you walked into my mecha workshop. You looked childish, a little fool who knew nothing. Now you have grown into a man who can stand on your own. Father, why are you here? Didn't I arrange a villa for you on the coffin star for you to recuperate there? Xia Xingchen asked curiously. No, I like Mechas and the smell in the mecha workshop. Don't let me go there to recuperate again. I'm bored to death. I want to live 2 more years. Father Free shook his head repeatedly. Okay, father, this is my place, and it's your place too. You can do whatever you want. Xia Xingchen said with a smile. After finishing the trivial matters on the star domain arc, Xia Xingchen brought the black cat Xioka to the coffin star. The first thing Xia Xingchen did was to visit the unconscious Carissa in the hospital. In the ward, there was a bouquet of flowers on the bedside of Carissa. The little girl had her eyes closed and was still sleeping with a ventilator covering her mouth and nose. Xia Xingchen sat in front of the bed, holding Carissa's little hand tightly, looking at her innocent little face, and felt a faint pain in her heart. After a long time, Xia Xingchen heard the sound of high heels stepping on the ground in the corridor. She walked out of the door and saw Meredith with messy golden hair, wearing a wrinkled white coat, holding a bouquet of flowers in her hand, walking towards the ward. Xia Xingchen? Meredith was surprised to see Xia Xingchen. Well, I'm back. Xia Xingchen asked in a low voice. How is Carissa's condition? Has it improved? Meredith shook her head and nodded. It's a little better, but I don't know when she will wake up. Xia Xingchen looked painful. What do you need to wake Carissa up? No matter what it is, I will find a way to get it. Meredith thought for a while, asked Xia Xingchen to go back to the ward. She put the flowers in the vase, pulled a chair over, and said seriously, do you really want to help Carissa? Xia Xingchen nodded heavily. She is my only apprentice. Of course I have to help her. The reason why Carissa is in a coma is that the consciousness of the celestial being broke into her brain. The human brain area is too narrow to process so much massive information. Even Carissa can't. Although she is a genius, she is still a child after all. Meredith said. That's right. The consciousness of the celestial being forcibly promoted her to a quasi-celestial being, causing damage to her brain. Xia Xingchen nodded. There are 2 ways now. The first is to expand Carissa's brain area. Meredith said. She is already a quasi-celestial being. How can her brain be expanded? Can she be expanded to become a celestial being? Xia Xingchen shook her head, thinking that the first method was not reliable. The second method. Separate the celestial being consciousness from Carissa's brain. Meredith continued. This feels even more unreliable. The human brain is too mysterious, and our research on mental power is still at the surface. Xia Xingchen shook his head again. With human technology, it is of course impossible. But, have you heard of the Bottle of Solomon? Meredith suddenly asked, changing the subject. The Bottle of Solomon? An alien relic? Xia Xingchen looked confused. King Solomon was a king of the ancient earth. It is said that he has 72 bottles that seal demons and can summon them to do things for him. This story is recorded in an ancient book called Arabian Nights. Meredith said. Arabian Nights? That seems to be a fairy tale book. Xia Xingchen asked curiously, what does the Solomon's bottle have to do with Carissa? You are already a legendary level, so you should have awakened a lot of ancient memories. You should know that many legends and fairy tales of the Earth era are not completely fictitious. Some people are gifted, and the ancient human memories in their genes awaken in their dreams, and they record them. For example, Hawaii shot the sun, Khufu chased the sun, and even Pangu created the sky. Hawaii, Khufu, and Pangu are all mechas of ancient humans. Meredith said. Most of the memories I awakened are broken star maps, which are not very useful. But I agree with your point of view, because I once drove the Hawaii mecha and hunted the 3-legged crow on the stars. Xia Xingchen smiled. He had never told anyone about this past. You have driven the Hawaii mecha. Meredith was surprised and looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise. After a long time, she waved her hand. In short, the legends of the Earth era are not all false. For example, the Bottle of Solomon is real. Of course, it is not as described in the Arabian Nights, where a demon is sealed. The true face of the bottle of Solomon is actually a soul container. Soul container? Xia Xingchen nodded, and this explanation was much easier to understand. I once saw a record about the bottle of Solomon in the Great Library of the Empire. In fact, this is the core secret of the Qin royal family, and I don't know much. Maybe you can ask Princess Crossing. If we can find the legendary bottle of Solomon, then we can imprison the consciousness of the celestial being in the soul container and separate it from Kirissa's spirit. Kirissa may be able to wake up. Meredith said. Okay. I will ask Jaina when I have time. Xia Xingchen nodded in agreement. Xia Xingchen did not think that the bottle of Solomon really existed, and even if it existed, it might not be able to help Kirissa. Perhaps Meredith was completely desperate, so she placed her hope on the illusory Solomon's bottle. If you think about it carefully, isn't Xia Xingchen the same? In absolute darkness, even the faint light of a firefly can become a guiding light. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1523 Taoyuan Township Under the Fire of War. Xia Xingchen said goodbye to Meredith. When he left the ward, he took another deep look at Kirissa lying on the bed and whispered, Kirissa, the master will definitely find a way to wake you up. After leaving the hospital, Xia Xingchen strolled along the tree-lined path by the lake. He couldn't help but remember that Kirissa had chased him on this road. That scene was as if it was yesterday and was still deeply ingrained in his mind. Xia Xingchen walked slowly, looking at the peaceful scene on the coffin planet. There were children chasing and playing in the garden, and laughter was heard constantly. Compared with a continuous war on the outside planet, this place can be called a paradise. Only those who have experienced war can feel the preciousness of peace. Xia Xingchen sat on a bench in the park and secretly vowed in his heart to do everything he could to protect this beautiful scene of peace and tranquility. Xia Xingchen came to the villa area by the lake to meet his father Xia Yu. Xia Yu was playing chess with Popovich in the courtyard. Popovich obviously lost the game, so he pulled Xia Yu's hand and forced him to give in. Xia Yu refused to give in, which made Popovich so angry that he blew his beard and glared. Dad. Xia Xingchen forced himself to hold back his smile, pushed open the gate, and walked into the courtyard. Xingchen. Xia Yu stood up suddenly when he saw his son suddenly appear in front of him, his face full of disbelief. Ah. Xingchen. Popovich also stood up quickly. Thinking of how Xia Xingchen saw him playing tricks just now, his old face became hot, and he messed up the chessboard in a hurry, trying to cover up the evidence. Dad, I'm back. Xia Xingchen walked forward and hugged his father tightly. After the last separation, a few years had passed quietly. Xia Xingchen found that his father's hair had turned completely white, and his heart suddenly soured. That night, Xia Xingchen stayed in the villa. The father and son talked a lot, and it felt like they were back to their childhood in Mandastar. The next day, after Xia Xingchen woke up, he personally made breakfast for his father. After asking him to eat, he looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. Let's go. A man's ambition is to go far and wide. I know you're worried about me. Don't worry, I'm with a few old men, and I'm very happy every day. It's not boring at all. No one knows a son better than his father. Xia Yu knew that Xia Xingchen was leaving again, and immediately said with a smile, Dad. Xia Xingchen's heart warmed. He had been without a mother since he was a child, and his father was everything to him. His father was old, and he had grown up. It was time for his father to rely on himself. Xia Xingchen hoped that his father would spend the rest of his life in happiness. I want to protect my father's happiness, and I must find a way to end the war. Xia Xingchen hugged his father again and walked out of the door. Xia Xingchen came to the helipad of the Coffin Star. The Winchester starship was docked here, and the huge hull filled the entire helipad. Amid the noise of electric saws, thousands of maintenance workers were busy welding and repairing the starship. In front of the helipad, Xia Xingchen found General Claude, who was directing the repairs. Xingchen, you're here. I was just looking for you. General Claude quickly took Xia Xingchen to the back, to a makeshift military tent. Xingchen, I really want to thank you this time. If it weren't for you, I would be dead now. General Claude stood up and bowed deeply to Xia Xingchen. General, no. Xia Xingchen quickly helped Claude up and said with a smile, if it weren't for you, I would still be mining on Mana Star. How is the princess? General Claude asked. She's fine. She's on a planet called Azure Star in the Chaos Star region, hosting the Star Business Alliance. Xia Xingchen said. It's good that the princess is fine. It's good that she's fine. Claude said repeatedly. Marshal He, Xia Xingchen whispered. Father, he is a hero. He once said that he would never die in bed, and he would die on the battlefield. He fulfilled his last wish. Claude's voice trembled. General, what are your plans next? Xia Xingchen asked. Revenge. I want to kill Andre and avenge my father. Claude said in a deep voice. What to do? Assassinate or defeat him fair and square? Xia Xingchen frowned. If it's an assassination, I have something to say. Andre is already a quasi-celestial being, arguably the strongest man in the entire galaxy, plus the Demon King Mecha in his hand. Even for me, the chance of a successful assassination is less than 10%. I know. Claude nodded. I've read the internal reference of the intelligence department. When Andre ascended the throne, Qin Yun sent out hundreds of assassins to kill Andre. All the assassins sent out failed, and what's more terrifying is that not even a single assassin escaped alive. Precognition. Xia Xingchen whispered. Andre is a rare dual-powered person. His first ability, bloodthirstiness, can greatly enhance his own combat capability. Now it has evolved into Bloodthirsty Field, which can not only affect himself, but also the fleet near him. The combat effectiveness of the fleet commanded by Andre will be more than doubled. As for his second ability, precognition, he can see the future. Before the assassins get close to Andre, he will be discovered, and he will be arrested and executed secretly. Quasi-celestial being. Dual superpowers. Bloodthirsty. Precognition. Claude was shocked. The information provided by Xia Xingchen was too precious. Even the Imperial Army did not have this key information. What a terrifying man. He actually has the ability to predict. Isn't he invulnerable? Claude said in shock. At least I can't think of any way to kill Andre now. Xia Xingchen still had one piece of information that he didn't say. Although Andre was terrifying, he was still a human being after all. The truly terrifying thing was the elder celestial being behind Andre. Through the Universal Civilization Network, Xia Xingchen also had some understanding of the celestial beings. For example, the mechanical celestial beings, their actions were easy to understand. The mechanical clan hated carbon-based life, especially humans, so the mechanical King Khan was scheming to destroy humans. However, Xia Xingchen still couldn't figure out the purpose of the elder celestial beings. The elder celestial beings had been hiding behind the shadows of the universe, constantly fostering puppets to provoke a civil war among humans. First it was the Chosen Organization, then the god of the celestial cult, then Emperor Nicholas the Great, and now Andre. What the elder did was a lot of trouble. Everything has its cause and effect. Xia Xingchen did not think that the elder deliberately provoked the human war just to watch the show. They must have some unknown purpose. What should we do? If the assassination fails, we can only kill Andre on the front battlefield. But now I only have the tattered Winchester, and I have less than 100 mecha divisions. Claude's eyes were filled with tears, his fists clenched, and his voice trembled. Father, I'm an unfilial son. Maybe I can't help you get revenge in this life. Chapter 1524 New Captain Claude. Cough. A cough suddenly came from outside the tent, followed by a female voice asking, Sir, are you in there? Claude looked at Xia Xingchen with a confused look on his face. Xia Xingchen recognized the voice of Li Huami and smiled at Claude. It's my most capable subordinate, Li Huami, the captain of the Star Domain Arc. She is very good. When I was away, she shared my worries and commanded the Star Domain Arc and the 5 Corps in my hands. She sounds very young, and she is a woman. Please invite her in. Claude said hurriedly. I'm here, come in. Xia Xingchen got Claude's consent and shouted to the outside of the tent. Li Huami was wearing a white captain's uniform, her long hair tied into a ponytail, and she looked heroic. Women are indeed as good as men. Claude did not expect that Li Huamui was younger and more beautiful than he imagined, and he couldn't help but exclaim, Xingchen, all your subordinates are talented. I'm really envious. Claude's tone was a little sour. Huamui, you must have something urgent to say, right? Let's go back to the Star Domain arc. Xia Xingchen looked at Li Huamui. My lord, it's not convenient on the Star Domain arc. Otherwise, let's talk here. Li Huamui's expression was a little awkward. Well, go ahead. Xia Xingchen nodded. But my lord. Li Huamui's eyes fell on Claude. Obviously, she felt that she couldn't speak with Claude present. I'll go out and smoke a cigarette. General Claude immediately laughed. Xia Xingchen knew that General Claude never smoked. She stretched out her hand to stop him and said to Li Huamui, the general is not an outsider, you go ahead. Li Huamui was silent for a while, her chest heaving, took a few deep breaths, stepped forward, and handed over a resignation letter with both hands. My lord, I want to resign. Resign. Xia Xingchen was stunned. He never expected that Li Huamui would suddenly resign. Can I know why? Xia Xingchen stared blankly at the resignation letter in Li Huamui's hand, his face a little ugly. Sir, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm leaving you, or the Star Domain arc. I'm still your subordinate. But, I'm really not qualified for the job of commander. My talents are limited, and I'm at best a corps commander. I can still command the new Bloody Mary regiment, but commanding 5 corps is really beyond my ability. I'm under a lot of pressure. I suffer from insomnia every day. If this continues, I'll collapse. Li Huamui's face flushed, and she shook her head to explain. So that's how it is. Xia Xingchen's expression eased a little. Xia Xingchen could also feel that Li Huamui was indeed incapable of commanding the Star Domain arc. Xia Xingchen asked Li Huamui to be the commander, which was a bit of a push. Xia Xingchen's subordinates were not short of brave and fearless warriors, but they lacked a commander with commanding ability, and whom he could trust absolutely. Huamui, you have to know that this is a critical time. I understand why you resigned at this time, but the position of commander cannot be left vacant. Do you have a suitable candidate to take your position? Xia Xingchen said in a deep voice. Li Huamui was silent. Miyamoto Kenichi is a warrior with an impulsive personality, so he is not suitable. Zaka is from the Liang tribe, so he is not suitable. Tixing, Zumo and others are even less suitable. After thinking about it, she realized that the only person who could take over this position was Keelan. Then, Li Huamui went to find Keelan, but before she opened her mouth, Keelan guessed her intention and refused her outright. Sister Huamui, you know my character. You might as well let me die if you let me sit in this position. Li Huamui was unable to convince Keelan, so she had no choice but to hand in her resignation and throw this difficult problem to Xia Xingchen. Huamui, if you can find a suitable successor, I will agree to your resignation and demote you to the leader of the new Bloody Mary group, and Tixin will be your deputy. Xia Xingchen said. Where can I find a suitable successor? Li Huamui was anxious. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she almost cried. At this time, Li Huamui suddenly found that Xia Xingchen looked in the direction of Claude. She was so smart that she immediately understood what was going on. She walked up to Claude, bowed and said, General, I have always admired you. This time, please help me. General Claude was stunned for a moment, touched his chin with his right hand and thought carefully for a while, then said apologetically, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Several of my adjutants are good, but they are not qualified for this position. The captain of the Star Domain arc, this position is too important, and they are not capable enough. General, the adjutant is not strong enough, can't you? Li Huamui whispered. Me. Claude was stunned for a while, looked at Li Huamui, then turned to look at Xia Xingchen, and suddenly said, is this a trap you set? Let me be your captain? Xia Xingchen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. General, although I have this idea, I never colluded with her. This is really a coincidence. If you are willing, just nod your head. If you are not willing, it doesn't matter. You will always be my brother. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Of course I'm willing. I'm willing. Claude stood up, laughed, and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. Whether you are intentional or not, I have to thank you. I have nothing now, and it is a fantasy. to want to kill Andre. But if I command the elite soldiers on the star domain arc, I guarantee that I can sweep across the starry sky. Invincible. Any general hopes to command a powerful army that sweeps across the world one day. So does Claude. He looked at the brave troops under Xia Xingchen and had been envious for a long time. He had also imagined how brilliant his achievements would be if he commanded this army. Now Xia Xingchen proposed that he be the captain and command 5 corps. General Claude was simply asking for it. General, since you agreed, let's immediately hand over the work. Xia Xingchen smiled and immediately invited Claude to board the star domain arc. He convened a general meeting and informed all members of the news. General Claude is the new captain. He is the only son of Marshal von Bismarck and one of the famous generals of the empire. The most important thing is that he was discovered by the Marquis. The two of them have a very good relationship. With General Claude as the captain, the star domain arc is simply even more powerful. Although Sister Huami is good and has always worked hard, she is a woman after all. Many people talked about it and generally had no objection to Claude being the captain. In terms of seniority, Claude is a famous general of the empire, much higher than Li Huami, who was born as a star pirate. In terms of experience, Claude has been through hundreds of battles and has already mastered the strategies and tactics by heart. He is much better than Li Huami, who has only started learning by herself lately and has to study all night. In terms of background, Claude has known Xia Xingchen since the Manastar, and he has been supporting Xia Xingchen all the way and personally created this star legend. Li Huami met Xia Xingchen by chance after Xia Xingchen fled to the chaotic starfield. In any aspect, Claude is more suitable for the position of captain than Li Huami. More importantly, the happiest person on the entire spaceship is actually Li Huami, who can finally take a good rest and sleep well. Chapter 1525 The Empire is in danger. A new official has 3 things to do when he takes office. Claude was a famous general of the empire, so it was easy for him to appease people. Soon, Claude got along well with the grassroots soldiers and had a comprehensive understanding of the strength of the star domain arc and the 5 major corps. Terrible. Xingchen, your spaceship can only be described with these 2 words. In the command room, Claude exclaimed loudly, his face flushed, and the previous decadence was swept away. You have been keeping a low profile for so long, and you have really built such a terrifying army. It is no exaggeration to say that the combat effectiveness of the star domain arc is the best in the galaxy. Hide your strength and bide your time. Xia Xingchen touched his nose and smiled. Really? General? Xia Xingchen was about to speak. Don't call me general. I'm no longer a general. I don't care about the title of Imperial General. Call me Captain. Captain Claude smiled. Okay, Captain. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, then restrained his smile and showed a serious expression. He turned his head and looked at the corps members in the command room. Next, the captain will explain the situation in the Chang'an Star region. You should listen carefully. Yes. Li Huami, Keelan, Tai Xiang and others were sitting below, looking serious and nodded quickly. Excuse me. Claude nodded and waved his hand in the air. A star map of the Chang'an Star region appeared in front of him. The dense lights on it were planets, and there were detailed notes below, writing the basic situation of each planet. In the upper left corner of the map was a striking mark of a star battleship. It was the mark of the Imperial Military Department. Disclosing this star map privately was equivalent to leaking military secrets and killing 9 clans. This was a military map that Claude copied from the Winchester. It was much more detailed and accurate than the civilian star map used by the Star Region Arc before. Claude was leaking military secrets. The most serious consequence was going to a military court. Since he boarded the Star Domain Arc, he became a wanted criminal of the Empire, just like Xia Xingchen, and he had long since put his life and death aside. Claude pointed to the star map and explained to everyone the current situation in the Chang'an Star Domain. Claude's fleet has been stationed in the Chang'an Star Domain, and he is as familiar with this place as his home. He explained the intertwined forces of all parties clearly. Li Huami listened below, lowered her head, and looked ashamed. Compared with Claude's explanation, Li Huami's previous explanation was just the tip of the iceberg. The Empire's fleet has completely withdrawn from the Chang'an Star Domain. Therefore, there are only two major forces left in the Chang'an Star domain. One is the Northern Army. The other is Grand Duke Bonan. Claude pointed to the star map and marked the areas controlled by the two forces. Grand Duke Bonan? Some people below looked confused, especially Li Huamei and Tichum. They were originally star pirates in the Chaos Star domain. They didn't understand the Empire's structure and were confused. The Empire's territory is too vast. At the beginning of the founding of the country, the ultrawave communication technology and the jump technology were not mature, so the feudal system was implemented, and 4 dukes were appointed in the east, west, south, and north. These 4 dukes are hereditary and each controls their own starfield. The one in charge of Chang'an Starfield is Grand Duke Bonan. However, Grand Duke Bonan has always been low-key, and his popularity is not even as good as that of the Tang Dynasty group's Li family. Even I, a local of Chang'an Starfield, only know the Li family, not Grand Duke Bonan. Xia Xingchen explained to everyone. Chang'an Starfield is a heavy industrial area of the Empire, and the Qin royal family often intervenes in government affairs. Therefore, the success of Grand Duke Bonan has been under the control of the Qin royal family, and has not been well known. The current Grand Duke Bonan is named Bonan Hui. I thought he was a mediocre person. Now it seems that Bonan Hui is not mediocre, but an ambitious person who keeps a low profile and waits for an opportunity. His ambition is no less than that of Nicholas. Claude said. Why do you think so? Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows. The Northern Army was coming with such force that even the Empire's garrison fled upon hearing the news, but Bonan Hui did not flee to Xianyuan Star. He was very smart and knew that once he fled to Xianyuan Star, Qin Yun would find an excuse to put him under house arrest, and his fleet would also be incorporated by Qin Yun. By then, Bonan Hui's title of duke would be in name only. Bonan Hui chose to stay, which shows his courage. After finally escaping from the control of the Qin royal family, the Bonan family immediately sent out fleets to occupy major planets, selling the positions of planetary commanders at high prices, accumulating a large amount of wealth, purchasing starships and mechas through various channels, recruiting mecha divisions from all walks of life, and rapidly expanding the army. This shows his ambition. Bonan Hui has been dissatisfied with the Empire for a long time, and I'm afraid he will take advantage of the situation, expand his army and rebel, and stand on a 3-way basis with the North and the Empire. Claude said. The Bonan family is also going to rebel. Wouldn't the war situation become even more chaotic? If Grand Duke Bonan rebels, can the 2 Grand Dukes of Penglai Star region and Antarctic Star region still sit still? What a wolfish ambition. What a wolfish ambition. Everyone became nervous after hearing this, and angrily scolded Grand Duke Bonan. After listening to this, Xia Xingchen kept shaking his head and whispered, smart. It's stupid. Who does Bonan Hui think he is facing? Not Nicholas, but Andre. Bonan Hui doesn't know Andre at all, and thinks Andre is the same as Nicholas. Andre is much more ruthless and stronger than his father. Qin Yun asked the Imperial Army to withdraw from the Chang'an Starfield. Of course, he has no backbone. But, he obviously knows how terrifying Andre is, so he did such a thing. Claude nodded. I agree with Xingchen's opinion. Bonan Hui's move seems smart, but it is actually unwise. He can't stop the Northern Army. The fear is that this guy is also a spineless thing. If he can't stop Andre, he will make peace with him, or even betray the Empire, and kowtow to Andre. If that happens, the entire Chang'an Starfield will fall in an instant. The Northern Army's spearhead will point directly to Xianyuan Star. The Empire is in danger. Bonan Hui will surrender in all likelihood. Xia Xingchen shook his head. The Bonan family has never had much backbone. If they had backbone, they would not have survived until now, and would have been eliminated by the Qin royal family long ago. Xingchen, this is the basic situation. You make the decision. What should we do next? Claude said. Without hesitation, Xia Xingchen pointed to a planet in the star map, and said with a smile, since everyone is in a mess, and is fighting for territory, then I have to intervene. However, I'm not fighting for territory, but protecting my planet. The planet Xia Xingchen pointed to was his hometown, Manastar. Xia Xingchen is a nostalgic person, and has deep feelings for his hometown. No matter what, he doesn't want the war to spread to Manastar. There are many of Xia Xingchen's classmates and friends on that planet. Xia Xingchen wants to protect them. What's more, Xia Xingchen's name is Xingchen Hao, and his fiefdom is Manistar. Protecting your own fiefdom is the responsibility of any lord. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.